News Weekly.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 198 in year 4, and we're just always running late. I'm sorry. It was my fault this time around on the podcast. I got a COVID booster because I'm going to be doing some traveling soon, and holy shit, I felt that so bad.
I have to ask. Did it kick your ass the first time, and did it kick your ass the first booster you got?
So the first booster, yes, I got my ass kicked. When I got the first double dosage, I don't remember it being so bad. The first booster, it's weird. It's a 24-hour thing and it's over, which I think is so crazy. Because I started feeling it. I had been watching those Extraction movies the last couple of nights. Actually pretty good. I thought they were going to be stupid action movies, but they're actually really good movies. Yeah. And so I've been watching those lately. And so I watched Extraction 2 on Wednesday night, and it's like 2 a.m. I just finished it. I'm like, I'm going to go to bed now. And then I was like, why am I starting to get cold? And you know, when you're sick, you shiver,
that achy, cold feeling.
You know, where we're at, the fucking weather's horrible, right? It's hot as fuck. Yeah. And you don't think that even if your AC is on full blast, it's still not good enough. You know what I mean? You're always hot. You'll never need double blankets during this time of year. I needed double blankets because I was cold. Damn. And I was just like, oh my God, I was shivering. So I had to get double blankets, and then it was just shit from there on out. I was just like, this is horrible. I couldn't do anything. I was like, because I asked a lot of friends that have gotten the booster because they do traveling or whatever, and they're like, didn't fucking affect me at all. I'm good. I'm just like, all right, cool. I was like, maybe I should be good. Hell no. I don't know if it's because I know one of my friends has had COVID before, so I don't know if that's the reason. And maybe they're just more immune to it now or whatever, but it was fucking shit. But yeah, it was literally 24 hours because I started feeling it at 2, 4 in the morning-ish, and then I felt like shit all of yesterday. I didn't even get out of bed. I was in bed a majority of the time. I got up to let my dog out real quick. That was a horrible experience. Then I went back to bed. I want to just shout out to content creators because holy fuck, podcasts and live streams got me through the day yesterday. I just had them on in the background. And I was just like, all right, I'm just going to hopefully get some sleep. And so shout out to content creators because they definitely made my day a little bit better. But yeah, around 4 in the morning, I started getting that, when you finally break your sickness and you just get all sweaty, you just feel all sweaty. It's the worst but best feeling at the same time. Because I'm like, oh yeah, it's about to end. But I'm fucking hot as fuck. What the hell? So I felt that last night, and I'm glad I felt a lot better this morning. I'm still not 100%. I'm definitely going to take a nap after this podcast because I do feel not 100%. And so that's why this podcast is late. Just a little FYI, because I am going to be traveling. We'll be talking about this later in the podcast to Anime Expo on Monday. It actually starts tomorrow, which is really weird for a convention to run Saturday through Tuesday. I find really weird.
You find them very in various spots throughout the year, but it's not common. It's definitely not common for you to do that for a con. I know that there are cons that last the long weekend that will purposely be okay, there's a national holiday on a Monday, so we'll extend it until then. But never something that starts on the weekend and then ends almost midway through the week.
Yeah. San Diego Comic-Con starts on Wednesday, but that's preview night. So that it's only 2 to 4 hours, I think, the con is open at night. So a lot of people don't really count preview night because it's also only a handful of people get in. So that's the best night. And then the rest of the days are just normal days, but that starts on Wednesday if you're lucky enough to get a ticket. But usually the con starts Thursday through Friday or through Sunday. So I'm used to cons ending on Sundays. So weird that it starts on, Saturday. So I'm going on Monday because my family's actually doing something on this weekend. So I was like, I couldn't go this weekend. But I was like, Monday, probably not going to be as packed, I would think. But who knows? So yeah, I'll be going to Anime Expo for the first time. And that's why I got this booster. I thought it was going to be good. Nope. Felt like shit. So we are here now to talk a lot of things Batman because holy shit, a lot of stuff has come out. One thing we didn't cover last week was that Batman Beyond, the movie that we've all been wanting forever that would have starred Michael Keaton, is officially dead. Now, a lot of people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? When did that even get confirmed? Well, Clay, I don't know if you want to tell people about what this was.
So there was always rumors, right? As soon
Yeah.
as Keaton started to get on board with the idea of coming back live action, we had heard rumors. Oh, there's going to be a Batman Beyond movie. And like even in the hubbub about like Batgirl and him starring in that, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, they're definitely working towards something. People even thought, oh, well, it's not going to be Batman Beyond like we all know and love. Batgirl is basically going to be the Batman Beyond story. And, you know, she's going to be taking the place of like Terry McGinnis and all of that. There was all sorts of tinfoil hat type of conspiracies about this movie. And even so, we had heard there's going to be like an idea of a Batman Beyond animated movie. And that started, you know, coming about since not Across, but Into the Spider-Verse came out back in 2019. So the idea of a Batman Beyond movie has been around for quite some time now. But little did we know, it wasn't just rumors. It was something that was going to be solidified if the box office of The Flash was going to show, hey, people want more of Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And it's going to be another topic, but currently, looking at the box office of Flash, people don't really want Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're never going to really know that because there's so much backlash with the Flash movie already and Ezra Miller. Yeah. And I wonder if this is going to be a thing going forward in Hollywood. If a movie hasn't come out and there's backlash from an actor, if they'll just be like, we got to scrap this. Like,
I feel like that has been a thing, though. I can't think of anything necessarily like off the top of my head. I mean, if you take into account, okay, like look at everything DCEU with Zack Snyder, like they decided to not go with his plans because of how quote unquote bad BVS did in the box office, which I still think is total BS because it did make a profit, just not a profit that they wanted.
Yeah.
You know? So it's so I believe there's precedent for it in Hollywood, but I mean with this, I still think the concept is crazy and fun enough to say, hey, we'll give it to you anyway. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Now, of course, businessmen, Hollywood, people who are looking at nothing but the numbers think otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Keaton would have been cool. Would love him as Batman Beyond, or in a Batman Beyond movie as old Bruce Wayne, which I think would always been the perfect casting for him. Granted, if this is his swan song as Batman, I don't think it's bad either. It's unfortunate because The Flash is going to be a movie that I think people are going to watch because I think there's this part of it, like the moral high grounds for some reason have been a huge topic in everything that I'm interested in lately. I don't know why, whether it be streaming, movies, fucking books or whatever. Like literally, like there's literally, we had the things with, oh my God, the stuff that came out with comics lately, how comic creators are like, oh, I don't know what's going on with comics, but right now it's all like, oh, you don't do comics if you don't love them and yada, yada, yada. Like Twitter's constantly on that for some reason. I don't know why. So that's a big thing. In streaming right now, everybody's having this moral discussion about like, oh, if you go to Kick, you're a bad person kind of thing, which is this other thing that's run by a gambling website, but is paying out more than any other streaming service. And then now in movies, we have the moral high ground of like, oh, if you go watch this movie that has a terrible actor in it, you know, you're a bad person or whatever. But I think there's steps to the moral high ground. And I think there's a lot of people that are like, I won't pay to watch this movie, but I'll watch it on streaming. Which you're still inadvertently supporting the movie if you watch it, in my opinion, because you're giving it a view. I think views matter nowadays, specifically on streaming services. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to watch this movie just like they did Shazam and be like, oh, this was actually a good movie. Like, I saw that so much about Shazam and I was like, you motherfuckers. Like, and that just kind of sucks. And I don't know if this is people that are jaded from the Snyderverse that are like, partly Snyder fans, but also like, I'm just not going to support it because what they did to Snyder, I think is fucked up. I don't see how, if you're that person, how you ever go watch another DC movie. Because it's not like WB will ever, even if they reboot, they still fucked over Zack Snyder, in your opinion.
And honestly, this kind of pushes us to our next topic.
Yeah.
The Flash box office and the future of the DCU. Because there was a lot of discussion in our last two podcasts about the confusion of the DCU moving forward.
Yeah.
Since then, I have talked to several people asking them the exact same question that we were discussing on, hey, does the ending of Flash necessarily confuse people on what to expect moving forward? Some people are yes, some people are no. It's still undecided. And that's, I
Yeah.
think, for me, that is a sign towards something.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a lot of people online say this isn't a DCEU problem. It's not a Zack Snyder problem. It's a DC branding problem.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I could see where okay. How are we talking about? Give me the definition of branding here. Are we talking about across the board, like with comics and everything, or it's just the movies?
I think just the movies, because in all honesty, when it comes to the general public,
Mm-hmm.
general audience, they don't necessarily care about comics. It's what
Yeah.
they are able to watch, whether that be CW, whether that be the movies. And I
Yeah.
think the movies have a bigger audience.
Yeah, so I would say I don't know if it's we have said this on the podcast forever. DC's marketing is fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Their marketing department needs to fire everybody there and get some either younger people. And here's the thing too, like there's got to be a lot of red tape around, right? I find it bullshit that you even if you had very limited budget that you couldn't like really do something with these movies.
Yeah.
Because social media is free. Like, you don't need to pay for that. Like, maybe you're paying a social media kid, but most of the people that run social media are probably interns or like people that are getting paid very low. And you're just like, if you show us that you can actually, generate buzz, then maybe we'll give you a raise or whatever, which I think is really bullshit. I don't really think that works too well. But I don't know. First of all, I think DC has a marketing problem. That is number one. But number two, I do think, and I said this enough last week, so I don't want to dive into it. I think the way James Gunn approached it in hindsight is bad now. He should have never said the thing about the Flash resetting the universe. He should have just said, we're resetting. Now, granted, I think I don't know, man. I don't know how you feel about this. Maybe he should have never made the slate to begin with. Now that I think about it, because maybe it would have gave these 4 movies a chance at least.
I think I don't think he should have not made the slate.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should have made the slate that was solely his creations. I think he should have left Flash,
but I
Blue
think
Beetle, and Aquaman out of it.
Yeah, I still think that would have done what's happening now is where it gives a lot of people the thing of like, oh, so these movies don't matter. I think that's the problem right now. I think a lot of general audience thinks these movies don't matter because they're going to reboot the universe, which James Gunn, I think this is another thing I talked about previously in the podcast. Granted, I want some people from the DCEU to jump over. That's what I want personally, because I think Momoa is a good Aquaman. I think Gal Gadot is a perfect Wonder Woman. I think Harley Quinn with Margot Robbie is great. Like, I think there's a lot of people that I want to see continue in this universe in a long run like Marvel instead of rebooting everything. But I also said, if you want to just wipe the slate clean, it's probably the best thing to do because that's the only way you might be able to get the Snyder fans back is by being like, this is fresh. It has nothing to do with anything else.
So with that idea, I saw a quote, and this has been going around recently. Of course, James Mangold is writing and directing the Swamp Thing series, I think it is.
I think it's a movie.
I can't remember if it was a movie or a series.
Pretty sure it's a movie.
But on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, he said this: I have no interest in being part of a universe. I don't know how to do the handoff to the next project thing. It feels like I'm making the world's most expensive TV show. So I think that is, and I know this is going to sound confusing, but I will explain myself. I think that's the best way for people to look at whatever project they're creating. And the reason being is James Gunn has said multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the connective universe, the connective tissue, and the cameos and the characters that are the most important thing in the DCU.
Yeah.
It's the story. It's the stories that you watch individually.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I think everybody should make their movie, and then
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn will come in later and say, hey, this scene will change one or two things, and this scene will change one or two things because we need the connective tissue. And
Yeah.
so that way there's not a detriment of like completely shredding a really good story just for the sake of like, hey, we need a cameo here, we need a laugh there, we need to do this and that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Although I do think it's kind of dumb when some people say they don't know how to connect it to a universe. It's not hard. Like I don't find that hard, maybe because I'm a comic book fan. And from James Mangold, he seems like he's a comic book guy too. So I think that's kind of weird for him to say that. Granted, everybody has their own perspectives. I think people I think they overthink a connected universe. I feel like they think that they need to bring in somebody from another movie that makes it well and like connects it to that. Like that doesn't need to happen. You can literally put stuff in the background of your movie that people just have to see to notice things. You can say something. Like, you want to know something that was really good to make it in a connective universe, but was very like nonchalant about it, was the Netflix Marvel stuff. They were very nonchalant about connecting to it. They mentioned the Avengers stuff. They mentioned other characters and stuff like that, but they never showed them.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how Kevin Feige was like, oh, they're not a part of us. Yes, they fucking were, dude. So like I think that's maybe why they were trying to get away from it, because it didn't feel super connected. But you can do that. I find that a little weird. But no, I think the approach is to make every single film solid. And then if you want, like, if for some reason you're that bad at connecting the universe, then you can be like, James, I don't know how to connect this universe. You need to do an end credit scene. And then, all right, I'll come in here. This is what needs to happen on the end credit scene. Bam, boom, it's connected, you know?
Yeah.
Because if Swamp Thing is going to be the last film, which I don't think it is, because we know that there's supposed to be more of this gods and monsters arc.
Well, Gunn said, and I guess you can't trust his word on on this thing, but in the video he did say that Swamp Thing concludes chapter 1. So he may have shared like some of like the beginning of chapter 1, some of the middle of chapter 1, and then that last one that concludes chapter 1.
Yeah, so that is very possible. I do think a lot of stuff that's going to fill the middle, because right now I brought the list up of what's going on, and I just find it so funny. This is the list that you've seen, probably everybody's seen it. It was made by like some YouTubers, like they did it. I like how it says The Flash and then says Universe Reset, and then we got Blue Beetle, Aquaman. It says that Creator Commandos is a series, or Creature Commandos is a series. Waller's is a live action series. Superman Legacy is a movie. Lanterns is a series. The Authority is a movie. Paradise Lost is a series. Batman Beyond, or Batman Brave and the Bold, is a film. Booster Gold is a series. And Supergirl and Swamp Thing are both movies as well. On top of, obviously, you're going to have Joker 2, and then Batman 2, and those kind of things will also be Elseworlds. So that's what we have right now. Yes, I agree. If it is going to be the ending, Swamp Thing could be the final thing. Because I don't know Mangold's, like, situation. Because I know he's writing, like, Star Wars right now too, right? So he could, I don't know if he's directing that or if he's just writing.
He's directing. It's going to be what people think is a 2026 release. So that's going to be the first thing he works on.
Yeah, so he'll probably do that, and then, maybe a Swamp Thing will happen right after that, which is probably going to be, he said it's going to be a release in 2026.
Yeah,
so he probably
it looks like either a May 2026 or a December 2026. It's a wide gap, but yeah.
Well, especially with everything on strike right now, so have no idea when that's going to happen. But so that I could see that being the last thing, which would be interesting, and see how that branches out into whatever the second chapter is. I think a lot of the stuff that's going to be filled in the middle is going to be all animated stuff. I think it's going to be a lot of animated movies.
I could see that. I think with the success of Across the Spider-Verse and James Gunn being a really big fan, saying that Into the Spider-Verse is his number one favorite movie. He definitely wants to dive into the animated uh storytelling in his DC universe. But I still think he wants to do live action stuff.
Yeah.
So I will go 50-50 on that. I think that it'll be almost an even split.
Yeah, because you got to remember, he said less than half, and we're assuming since he announced 10, I'm calling 25 projects for the first chapter, because that would be more. That would be more than half of what's been released. So 15 more projects. I could assume 8 of those are animated. So
yeah.
you know, so that's what I would go with. What they're gonna be, I have no fucking idea. I think we're gonna get animated stuff for random characters like creature commandos, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get like Metal Men or something animated, because like that'll probably be a lot of crazy CGI. And so like they'll probably do, we can get away with that in actual, whatever. I'm curious if they're gonna bring back or reboot like Doom Patrol. I feel like Doom Patrol would be like, I feel like if Doom Patrol didn't have a series, that's something James Gunn would have touched.
I think that with that success as well, I
Mm-hmm.
think they would be eager to use those characters. There is a rumor with Brendan Fraser joining the DCU already. It is only a rumor. There's no reliable sources on it. But it also pertains to one of the topics that we're going to be talking about later today. But I think that Doom Patrol could easily be another live action, though. Just for the
for sure.
craziness for it. And as well as anything else, like
I would just bring back that cast minus Cyborg.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But even looking at the stuff that he teased a long time ago, he was teasing Jonah Hex, freaking Mr. Terrific,
well, the Terrifics, so all of those characters.
The Terrifics as well. Batmite, like I think Batmite would be really fun animated, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I don't think the world's not ready for Batmite like live action right now.
Nah, I don't think so.
Not until you build like and Batmite live action again, you have to have the right person playing Batman. Batman cannot be goofy with Batmite. He just can't. He needs to be stoic and be like, oh, you fucking little bitch, you're back. Like, you know what I mean? It needs to be like that. And Batmite needs to be the comedy relief.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be really, I think what we saw in the Flash, if I think it technically hasn't been confirmed yet, but we're kind of we're like 99% sure that it's gonna be Muschietti doing Brave and the Bold. So has James Gunn confirmed that? I don't know. I don't think he's
Yes, I
that.
believe that the Hollywood Reporter article did use a James Gunn quote to confirm it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I haven't seen that, so I don't know. But like I think he handled Batman well. Granted, he will be doing his own version, so I hope he is sticking to a more stoic Batman, not really funny stuff. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think Batmite shows up for a while, if anything. But yeah, I don't know, man. I do think that DC has a problem. I was on board, and granted, I'm not like gonna sit here and be a spoiled sport and be like, it's fucking over. That's not me. I just think story wise, that's one of been. I'm a stickler for story. It doesn't make sense right now, and that's my biggest thing. I don't care if they recast everybody. I don't care if they bring some people over. I just think what they did at the end of Flash was dumb, because it makes me think, and it's been out. It's going to be on streaming soon. So spoilers again, if you haven't seen it. I think having fucking George Clooney there was just dumb. Like, it was cool to see, like, oh shit. But story-wise, if that is the new universe and he's Batman, it would have been better if he was like, who's Batman? That would have been interesting, but the cameo wouldn't have made sense at that point. Yeah. Because he's supposed to be Batman. So I think that's the problem. But yeah, anyways, that could jump into our next thing, talking about Batman castings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because we got another casting that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, which I'm interested to hear Clay's response on this. But first of all, in regards to the casting that we're going to talk about after this, James Gunn was asked, "Hey, how far are we from getting the Batman casting?" And James Gunn this is on Blue Sky or whatever, right? Because he doesn't say anything on Twitter anymore. It feels like, he said they are miles and miles away from casting Batman. What are your thoughts on this? If this movie was, let's say, originally set to come out in 2026 or 2025, it's not going to come out in 2025, but I think that was wishful thinking.
I think that this is realistic, because I think we don't get a casting. Because correct me if I'm wrong, and I think you can easily find the article. There is a release year for Brave and the Bold. I do believe.
I'm looking at the stuff here, like on that thing that somebody made, and it has a lot of dates on it because it has the Superman date. Superman date as of right now, I think, because I don't think it's changed, is July 11th, 2025. That is when Superman Legacy comes out. None of the other things that were announced have a date. That's including Brave and the Bold. Now, we do have dates for Joker, which was October 4th, 2024. And then The Batman, which I believe this has already been delayed, was going to be October 3rd, 2025.
Yeah, so it said, I just did a quick search also. It says it probably won't be released at the earliest until 2025. So that is wishful thinking right there. With everything going on with the writer's strike and the actor's strike being very, very soon coming, I think that puts a really big, like, hard stop on a lot of the things going on with the DCU right now. That being said, I think that realistically, you don't start filming for that until the end of 2025. And so if that's the case, we don't get
Really?
I think so.
Well, we're going to have Superman start of 2024. I would think Batman starts filming
No,
at the
Superman
end of
is 2025.
No, that's when it comes out. It's going to film in 2024. James Gunn has said that in January. They're starting.
Yeah.
I would think that the Brave and the Bold starts filming in 2024. Because
Really?
all of 2025 to edit, film, whatever, then maybe comes out in 2026.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I will say the end of 2024 is casting. And let's be completely honest, it's gonna come up pretty fast, but it's gonna feel like forever. So I think that's what he means by miles away. Because of course, miles away for him, he has an entire movie to film and to work on and a universe to build. So
I think the Batman actor makes a cameo in Batman's calling. I think the Batman makes a cameo in Superman.
Ooh, so you think it's a secret? Sorry, like I said, I'm house sitting, and so
is that an actual like landline?
Yeah, they have a landline.
Wow, I haven't seen one of those in forever.
I don't know why they have.
Does it not have a mute button on the side? They usually have a mute button.
No, I had to mute this one individually. I don't know if it's still ringing downstairs or not. But so you think there's a secret casting?
No, I think that by the time the filming is done for Superman Legacy, we will know who Batman is going to be, and they will show up in Superman. Because you don't need to do anything hardcore for that. You know what I mean?
Well, and another big thing, more news coming out about Superman as far as the movie coming. There was news that the biggest part of the Superman movie is the fact that he is being introduced in a universe with superheroes already being in the universe, where superheroes are already a thing. So,
which is kind of weird when you think about it in the context of Superman. He's always been, I mean, Jeff Johns just said he is the first superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of people consider him the original superhero.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it because of the direction they're going. and the timeline they're going with as far as movie release goes,
Mhm.
um, with like the Bat family, like you can't realistically like put Superman as the first hero
Yeah.
and then have Batman, just decide, hey, I'm also going to be a hero in Gotham after that.
Yeah.
But within the same movie, like have an entire Bat family, it just wouldn't make sense timeline
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
And also, you got to remember, it's Gunn is keeping all of his projects, right?
yeah,
We assume, because we already know we're getting Waller, which is a break off of Suicide Squad, which that has been confirmed is not getting a sequel, which you might not need it, especially if Harley Quinn and people show up in Waller, which is kind of our prediction.
yeah.
And then you have Peacemaker, and he said that's going to be happening right after Waller. So the only logical way to introduce a new Superman is to do it this way, right? Which again, creative writing. So I'm glad James Gunn isn't just being like, oh, he's always been here,
Yeah.
But it just annoys me because it seems like he has a plan for that, but he allowed the Flash thing to happen. Like, why? Like, it's the dumbest little thing. He has said on Twitter or whatever that we'll have to wait and see how it's explained.
I
So
think honestly, and I still think a lot of people put the blame on Gunn, but technically, I don't think you can because
explain it or
revisions
put the blame on him.
put the blame like because most people when you look at anything DCEU related, they
Mhm.
immediately blame Zack Snyder
Yeah.
because he was the one who quote unquote birthed the DCEU.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Flash, I think a lot of people just automatically, oh, Gunn is the co-CEO of DC Studios, he's the
Yeah.
blame.
Yeah.
But this movie was already in production, basically already almost made, completed
Yeah.
when he became the co-CEO of DC Studios.
Yeah.
And
I
I
don't blame
honestly,
him for the movie. I blame him to allow that last part to happen because it has been said, and we've been told there was multiple different endings to this movie.
yeah,
He picked the apparently he was on board with this one.
yeah,
So that's on him. I'm not blaming the whole movie on him at all, or even like the box office being bad. I think that was the title of our last week, like how much blame is on James Gunn or whatever. That was a little bit more for dramatas, but I don't blame him for that. I do blame him for allowing that to happen because
yeah,
he said that he made notes and he
yeah,
was able to axe the Henry Cavill stuff because he was like, we can't promise that he's going to be Superman, which we already know in hindsight he knew Henry Cavill was never going to be there. So he
yeah,
was like, we can't do that. So you got to be able to put that kind of blame on him for the ending, at least.
yeah.
Because he could have also had something else filmed for the end credit scene. Like, you know what I mean?
That's
So
true.
I will blame him on that. I don't blame the performance or any of that on him. I won't blame James Gunn for these next two movies if they do poorly either. I just say, like, you should have said something different in the Slate video because the first thing that I read in the comments of that video was like, so these four movies don't matter, is what
Yeah,
everybody instantly thought.
yeah,
And so, perception is huge and people need to realize that. And so, unfortunately, even though it might be divided and we can understand, like, oh, yeah, it was just a joke. If you have people not getting the joke, it's not a good joke. So, like, it's unfortunate. But yeah, so miles and miles away, I still say I want my Batman to be Jake Gyllenhaal. That is my number one pick. I don't know who your number one pick is, but I
I
would prefer Jake
don't
Gyllenhaal.
know. I think I'm in the camp for Gyllenhaal. I think he is a fun choice.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people have John Hamm in their idea pick for Batman as well.
he's like in his 50s now, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
late 40s, maybe. I
he's
think Gyllenhaal's like 42, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
he's a little bit on the younger side of the older crowd.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm gonna need to really look at like who's been in the limelight recently because I
hmm
think that's somebody made a really good point on the castings of Batman and Superman, and
hmm
we've been teasing it. The Superman casting has happened. It is going to be a topic that
yeah,
we're going to be talking about. But they made a point to say that there's always been a little bit of a no name for Superman
yeah,
in their castings and always a big popular name for Batman.
Usually. I mean, you can't say that for 89 because everybody made fun of it.
Yes, but it was still Keaton was still a popular name. Like
I was a
people
child. I mean,
knew.
I was a sperm when he was in that. I mean, I was alive. I was one when that
Yeah.
movie came out. So
Like I still think people knew of him and they were like, "Oh, he's going to be Batman?" Like it's unlike Christopher Reeves when they're just like, "Who is this Christopher Reeve guy?
Yeah.
Why is he Superman?" Same thing with Brandon Routh and Tyler Hoechlin and Henry Cavill. Like they were.
What about the douchey Superman, the MAGA Superman? Who's that?
Oh, Dean Cain. Dean
Yeah.
Cain was a little bit of an unknown when it came to television as well. So I mean, even Tom Welling. Tom Welling, it was his first TV gig, I think. Other than like random commercials and magazine stuff. But yeah, like I think that when it comes to Batman, he does need to be a little bit more popular.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to be looking pretty soon at like some of the bigger names within the range of, I'm going to say 40 to 50. I think 50 is kind of your ceiling when it comes to the rest of the Bat family and their age gaps and everything. 50 is your ceiling, 40 is your starting point as far as age goes for the Batman in the DCU.
Yeah.
So I'll look it up and I'll give you a definitive answer probably next week.
I don't understand the Jensen Ackles thing, man. Everybody's on that train.
It is so. It's funny that you say that, and this also goes into a question that we're going to answer later, and I guess this will kind of be the answer here. I saw this. So Jensen Ackles is, of course, really famous due to the fact that he was on a show called Supernatural.
Yeah.
Huge fandom, went on for 15 seasons. He recently did a convention, and one person asked him, "Hey, what can you say about the rumors of you being in the top 3 picks to be Batman?" And he was like, "I don't know anything about this." And they're like, "Oh, well, we didn't expect you to. We just wanted to see your reaction to see if you knew anything." Um, he is a big Batman fan. Like he is just a nerd about Batman.
Yeah.
Of course, he voiced Red Hood in Under the Red Hood. He has been the voice of Batman for this new wave of animated movies. I think it's just like a cliche fan casting.
Yeah.
I'm not on board with it because I
Neither,
hate
man.
I hate his Batman voice. It just
Yeah.
doesn't sound like Batman. And I'm not okay with people still thinking, "Oh, well, I think he could still play Red Hood in live action." No,
Yeah.
the guy's too damn old. Sorry.
Yeah. We were talking about this in Discord because I believe Arwitz asked Jan in the Discord about like who would you cast as Batman or whatever. And I said Jake Gyllenhaal, and Jan said an unknown. And I was like, I would agree with an unknown if they're going younger. I was all, but I think since the Bat family is going to be there, and I think the Bat family is going to be a bunch of unknowns, you need a well-known actor to be Batman.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need somebody for people to care about when there's a bunch
you need
of
the
Batman
box
characters.
office pool.
Yeah, so I think Jake Gyllenhaal is fantastic for that. He's a great actor. And you're going to have, like I said, you're going to have a bunch of unknowns for the family, I think. And so I think it would be cool to have like this, especially a well-trained actor to be Batman for everybody else to play off of.
Yeah.
And yeah. Brave and the Bold again. I just don't. I'm curious about who the villain will be. I feel like since it's going to be a Bat family thing, they are going to go with either the League of Assassins, which I don't want that, but it does have Damian involved, so I could see that easily, or the Court of Owls, which is another thing I don't want. So I'm kind of all Court of Owls out, which we're going to be talking about that in the comic section later. But like Court of Owls is kind of up there with Joker for me right now, where I could do with less. So love them. I think they're great. But...
So I'm looking at like just a random list of actors over the age of 40. And so you see the very first one is Hugh Jackman. There's Bradley Cooper, Patrick
Bradley Cooper,
Dempsey.
Batman. Dempsey, isn't he like 50 something?
He is.
If I'm thinking about who Patrick Dempsey is, I think I know the
the
name.
Grey's Anatomy guy.
Oh yeah.
He was also on Enchanted.
Yeah.
I think
Oh yeah. He would be an interesting Bruce Wayne. I don't know about Batman.
Yeah, no, I don't think he could pull off the Batman. I think he could pull off the Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Then you
Well,
have
he's gray now, or maybe this is just a dye job. Yeah, it's probably a dye
you
job.
have Josh Duhamel. He was in the Transformers movies. He was the military guy.
Oh yeah.
Pedro Pascal. I think he's reaching 50. Latino Batman. You know,
I've heard that going around a lot. Yeah. I'm looking at a different list. They got Chris Evans on here. Tom Hardy Batman.
People still wanting freaking Keanu Reeves as Batman. I don't think it'll work.
Yeah, I would not want that. Let's see. John Krusik, or whatever his name is. The fucking Office guy.
Oh, okay. Wait. Krasinski?
Yeah, Krasinski. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. What about a Sebastian Stan Batman? I don't know. Let's see. Christian Bale. They got Jake Gyllenhaal on here, man. I'll take Jake Gyllenhaal all day. He's 42. Like, even if you got him for the next 10 years, he'll be 52 by the time he gets out, you know?
What about Michael Fassbender?
You know what? I was never a big fan of him as Magneto, and I know a lot of people loved him. I think he's a great actor, but I just don't think he's Batman.
Yeah.
Take out Justin Timberlake on here, which I find hilarious. You know what? I want to see. This is not for Batman, but I want to see Rami Malek as a villain. I want him to be like Scarecrow, or
you know what? I know people are gonna hate it, but it was my fan casting years ago. He is 45 years old. Matt Bomer.
Is that the guy from Suits?
Suits? No, not Suits. White Collar.
Yeah.
And he was also Negative Man in freaking Doom Patrol.
He's a great actor. He's great as Negative Man.
I would absolutely love him because he's suave. He's got a pretty face. Like, I think he would play a brilliant Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I would just need to see him under the cowl, but I think he could do it.
Yeah, I'm going through the rest of these people, and I just don't see anybody over 40 that I would be super down with. Take out Gabriel Iglesias on here. That's who I want as Batman right there. Some of these photos they have on here are very old photos of these people, because like they have this very young looking Zachary Levi photo, and he don't look like that no more. He's also 42. It's crazy. I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see who they go with. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with an unknown, but like, are you going to find an unknown in his 40s, late 30s? I feel like those would be, I don't know. I do think Batman's going to be a name, though. I don't think it's going to be just a nobody.
Yeah.
I wonder if Hoult is going to go out for that one, too.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about Hoult and the Superman casting because they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, of course, everybody knows that we did get the Superman casting this past week. It was, of course, the guy that everybody was saying, which was this David Cornsweet. Of apparently he has 2 Ryan Murphy movies on Netflix if anybody wants to go check them out. The Politician is one of them, and I don't know the title of the other one. Pearl, I think, is the other movie, but I don't think that's a Ryan Murphy movie. But those are the 2 movies that are on Netflix. There is also the casting for Lois Lane, which is Braun. I can never remember her name.
I've never seen either of these people. All I said was, I was like, both of these people got casted because of their chins. because they have very defined chin lines. Like, and I was like, damn, like they stick out. But
it is her name is Rachel Brosnahan.
yeah.
She is, of course, famously known for her Amazon show, The Marvelous Miss Maisel. I
Yeah.
will say I am almost finished with season 1, and I believe it's a total of 3 or 4 seasons. And it's a period piece, so like
Okay.
she's like 30s and 40s time on that show, and she
Mhm.
is like the perfect casting for that type of character.
Yeah.
She is very much like independent woman. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to stand up for women's rights and everything, which is what Lois Lane is really known for. Like in
Yep.
a man's world of politics and newspaper reporting and journalism, like she stood above the rest, and that's
Yeah.
really what her story is about. And so putting her in the role of Lois Lane, I like a lot of people are just like really, really happy about this.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of people are very stupid in Hollywood, and they're like, "Oh, well, uh, she's a little old. She's a little old to be playing Lois Lane."
How old is she?
She's 32.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm fucking ancient then.
She's
God damn.
32, and David Cornsweet is 29. So she's
Oh.
less than
Oh,
3
so
years.
she's a groomer now.
Yeah, she's less than 3 years older than him. And so, like, people are like, "Oh my god, what are they ever gonna do? Like, this is
Yeah.
gonna ruin the legacy of Superman." People don't understand or realize that in Smallville,
Mhm.
Erica Durant and Tom Welling both had an age gap. She was older, and the same thing with Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeves. She was also older than Christopher.
Yeah.
So it has a precedent for Lois Lane actors to be older than the Superman
Yeah.
actor.
Probably
Um,
comes down to a maturity thing too.
yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
it honestly does. And I'm pretty sure people in the comments or just overall fans of Superman, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I am pretty sure canonically Lois Lane is older than Superman.
Hmm.
So there's no reason why it can't happen in
Yeah.
actual real life. Uh,
I don't
but
think that matters.
but the thing with this is, we had heard that, and we had also reported on this before, that oh shit, I forgot his name.
Nicholas Holt.
Nicholas Hoult was in the running for Superman. There was rumors of like, oh, he's also testing for Lex Luthor. Nothing has been confirmed about that, but he lost the role of Superman.
Yeah.
Juice, this man is going to go on a rampage with Hollywood. He has lost out on 4 large roles in Hollywood in the last few years.
Yeah.
He lost his opportunity with Batman. He's
Yep.
lost his opportunity with Superman. He was supposed to be the main villain in the Mission Impossible uh, movies that are coming out this year and next year.
Yeah.
And he lost his spot in what was supposed to be one of the guys from Top Gun, the most
Yeah.
recent Top Gun, which was over $1 billion in profit. Like, not in profit, but like
Yeah.
it made $1 billion. So, like, this dude has just not been his agent is probably fired. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't know where he goes from here.
Mhm.
I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh man, he's gonna go running to Sony and be in the Venom verse or something,"
Yeah.
which would be absolutely horrible. A lot of people do want him for Lex Luthor. There are some names that have been kind of leaked or scooped or whatever for who is running for Lex Luthor. The Skarsgård brothers, Bill and Alexander. Again, Holt has been rumored to be running for that as well. We don't know yet. I think he has what it takes to be a Lex Luthor. What do you think about this whole thing with Holt?
I would probably go with the Skarsgård guide. He looks more like a Luthor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, I like Luthor looking a little bit older. You know.
Yeah.
Holt still looks like a really good looking guy, and he gives me the nerdy vibe though.
And that's okay. So that's one thing that I saw a lot on Twitter.
Yeah.
After this casting announcement and like people kind of being like, "Oh man, Hoult, he missed out on something big again." A lot of people were saying, "Oh, Hoult is the guy in the background, the really nerdy guy in the
Yeah.
background," and that
He's a guy in the friend
sucks.
zone. Yeah.
That sucks. Like he was somebody who I felt years ago, I would say 5 years ago, was kind of in the limelight for a lot of things.
Yeah.
He was better known then. He hasn't been in anything super recent that has like got him in the standards of like people would consider him for lead roles, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um and I I said if you really want to go that route, give him Barry Allen. Like just go ahead, with how the Flash is going on, just say, "Hey, Ezra, it's not going to work out, and we're going to recast you," and give it to Holt. Like
Yeah.
I think, but it so the a lot of people like to think, oh well, if he didn't, get the cast that he wanted, maybe he'll get the role that of the villain or anything else. Um, and I don't know if a lot of directors do that too often, that are
Hmm.
like, "Oh, well, I liked you enough, so you're still gonna be in my movie," you
Yeah.
know? I think that would be kinda weird. We talked about that when the Batman was being casted. Like,
Hmm.
if 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 you get Pattinson as the Batman and then find out that Holt is the Riddler, you're just like, "Nah, that's a little weird," you know?
Yeah. Yeah. He probably would have been better
Yeah.
than the current Riddler. I don't think Dano was that amazing in my opinion. Yeah, it sucks. I did see somebody point out on Twitter though, they're like, why is everybody freaking out about this guy losing out on so many opportunities? He's an actor. Like that's what happens. Christian Bale himself has said, I've gotten all my opportunities because Leonardo DiCaprio's turned him down.
Yeah.
Like, so like Leo apparently is the number one guy for every movie ever. Like, I think even shitty movies probably be like, can you send out something to Leo? And he's like, no. And then that's it. Like, he still said no, right? So, like, I think that's kind of what the number one thing is. And I think Holt's just part of that generation, right? If I was Nicholas Hoult and I want to be this like action hero, I think maybe I go away for a little bit, like after your obligations, right? I think I grow out my fucking beard and I just get jacked. Like I get fucking Chris Hemsworth fucking jacked and then be like, cast me in an action movie. And they're like John Wick, like who's ever's working with John Wick, let's do something. Like,
Yeah.
and then just come out with that. Like this guy's just gone for a year, comes back fucking yoked. And you're just like, whoa, that guy needs to be somebody, Unless he's gonna be the Flash. He's got the perfect body for the Flash right now. So
I
like,
think he does. And even I didn't see Renfield, and I also didn't see a whole lot of people talking about Renfield, the
yeah,
Dracula movie with Nicolas Cage. Um, but I think that kind of also gave the idea of like, yeah, he's not the leading guy, but he can be close to it.
yeah,
Um, I would say put him in a TV series, give him more exposure that way.
yeah.
I could see him joining something like The Boys. That would be kind of fun.
Hmm.
Giving him something like that. Because I've seen recently a lot of people just like go crazy over these streaming shows.
Yeah.
Um, a lot more so than what Netflix has been in the past.
Mhm.
Of course, like I said, the example of The Boys, The Rings of Power over Amazon as well. I what is the show that's on Apple TV Plus? Shrinking or whatever it's called.
I've never
Um,
watched one thing on Apple.
really?
Yeah. I heard they have great shows. I had it free for a year, never opened that app once.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they give out a free thing when you buy a piece
A
of
new
equipment,
phone?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or yeah, I think any equipment is they
yeah.
give you a free year.
I think I'm finally upgrading my fucking like 5-year-old phone later this year, so
Nice.
we'll see. But yeah, I think Nicholas Holt's gonna be fine. If Josh Peck can get a role in a Christopher Nolan movie, I think Josh Holt's gonna be just fine. I mean, what has Josh Peck ever done to get that right? He's been in one series everybody knows about, in
I
my
mean,
opinion.
he did have the reboot of that show on Disney Plus, that he was the lead on, with the
No idea.
dog. Um, and he's actually worked with John Stamos a whole bunch, on I think two
What, Full
different
House?
shows.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was like a dad son kind of. He's been on TV. He's always been a TV guy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think Nicholas Hoult will be fine. I just always know. I mean, he'll always be Megan to me.
When
Like,
that bomb goes off in Oppenheimer, Megan.
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting. Dude, a lot of people are excited to do a double feature that day. A lot of people are going from Oppenheimer to Barbie, which is crazy.
So Barbie's projections, it's a large gap, 70 to 100 million opening weekend.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah. In a good way or a bad way? Because that's kind of what the projections were for The Flash, and everybody's shitting on it.
Well, people were expecting for Barbie to have low projections, which it had I think 30 to 50 to begin with as far as projection, like early projections. And then all of a sudden it has jumped to 70 to 100, which is absolutely insane.
I saw they did an election voting for Oppenheimer and Barbie. I don't know if you saw this, like the American map, like you would do for Republicans and Democrats.
Oh yeah.
And the funniest thing was somebody posted, "Oh my fucking god, Barbie flip Texas." Because Texas was more interested in seeing Barbie than it was Oppenheimer, which you would think Texas wants to see fucking people getting blown up, you know, especially foreigners getting blown up because it's so fucking crazy around here sometimes. But like, yeah, I think that's insane. But
the marketing for the movie also has been pretty clutch. Did you see the actual like Dreamhouse Barbie thing that happened in Hollywood or in LA?
Yeah, that was insane. Yeah, somebody was saying like, oh, it's gonna be Oppenheimer's stuff is gonna be insane when they do theirs.
Well, so I saw like there was like a helicopter coverage of the actual house, and then somebody quote tweeted it and said Oppenheimer has the greatest opportunity to do something so stupid right now.
Yeah. That shit is gonna be crazy. I kind of want to only see Oppenheimer in IMAX.
Yeah, I think that would quite possibly be the only like quote unquote real way to see the movie.
Yeah.
Just with all that surround sound and feeling, I think that would be amazing.
Well, I just also want to be like, I feel like even if you're in the center middle of that thing, that bomb going off is probably gonna be insane, right? Because that's the only reason you're going to see Oppenheimer. You're only going to see the bomb go off. That is it. And I think the bomb going off in that movie, you are not going to be able to justify it on Twitter. Because a lot of people are like, I'll just watch it on Twitter. It's not the same. Like, I don't know how you feel about this. I think 99% of monster movies, trash if you don't see them in theaters. That's how I feel. I think kaiju movies are boring to see at home.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree with you. I'm a big Godzilla fan, but after seeing it in a theater, I don't watch it again at home.
Yeah. I have went to go see the last few Godzillas in theaters. I haven't been interested in them. I think they're bad movies, in my opinion. Godzilla looks cool and stuff, but holy shit, that last one, why was Millie Bobby Brown even in the last one?
Yeah.
Like, half of those people were in there. I still think it is really fucked up in the first one that they had, what's his name from Inception? The Asian guy that's really popular. They had him talk normal the whole fucking movie, and he goes, Godzilla! Like, I was like, why did y'all make him do the accent? Like, what the fuck? I don't know if you've noticed that. Go back and watch that movie. He fucking talks normal the whole time. He sees Godzilla, he goes into like a stereotypical Asian accent. I'm just like, what? It's fucking terrible. Like, I don't know why they had that happen. But yeah, I think that's fucked up. Anyways, but like, I just don't think kaiju movies are good. So I think Oppenheimer gonna be the same. Like, probably. You gotta watch it in theaters. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that's gonna go. I'm excited for both of those things. But let's see, what else do we got? Did I hit all the topics? Did we get all? Well, I guess the only last thing we have is DC has confirmed. Well, we got two things. DC has confirmed that they are going to be at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes.
I am currently deciding if I'm going to Comic-Con or not. I am waiting to hear back from one of my hotels that I've booked, if they'll let me out of my stuff, because a lot of people have pulled out of Comic-Con, and I'm just like, do I really want to go? Like, I don't know if I want to go. I might want to save the money and just do a different trip throughout the year. But we'll see. I don't really know. I'm also like, I was like, I could get a little like YouTube short out of it if I wanted to, but I'm not like super pumped to go to Comic-Con with all the actor strike stuff going on. I think a lot of people are not going to show up to it. That's why we're concerned about, a lot of people going, because Marvel's already said they're not going to go. So we're assuming DC probably not going to go. Now, DC did make this press release recently that they are going to be back, because I guess they weren't there last year. They're going to be back in full force this year, but it's all comics related pretty much. Not DCU, aka James Gunn run world. So, yeah, I don't know.
My question is, because you have a lot more experience with San Diego Comic-Con than I do, what is like the cutoff for making announcements to be at Comic-Con? Like,
around this time, really, a few weeks out, because I mean, granted, everything can cancel at the last second if they want to. But I mean, I'm pretty sure there's like deposits and stuff for like space that you need to do, kind of shit like that. So I think maybe it's a month out. That's probably why everybody canceled like last week, right? Which kind of really fucking sucks, because that kind of puts the con at like, they'll just spread everything out if they have to make it look full. Which I think is kind of cool, because I think maybe, if you're a last minute artist, maybe the artist alley will be bigger. So it's probably better for you. But I do also think it could be a positive and negative, because if you've never been to Comic-Con, it is so jam packed that some of those places can benefit from a little bit more space. So I don't know how that'll go, especially like the Funko area, which how those are still popular blows my mind. But yeah, I don't know. So DC has usually has a really cool booth. The last year I went, they combined WB and DC together, and that kind of fucking sucked. Not gonna lie, because they did it like it was all white and shit, and like it didn't really have any pizzazz to it. Whereas DC usually had the logo, it was surrounded by toys, like it just looked really cool. They had like the artist like signing like right there in the middle of the thing. It was really cool. The WB one like had everybody behind like tables, and like the label, like the aisle was very like, structured and shit. Granted, that's better for waiting, but it was right next to Funko, and it's like, oh my God, we're fucking next to it. It was so crowded. Like it really, really sucked. But before, DC would be right in the middle of the con. So I was like, damn, this is cool. So like you just go to the middle and be there. And they would give out free stuff like all the time, like pins and posters and all that kind of shit. So it's cool they're coming back. I've heard this joke, and I'm kind of annoyed. And I feel like this is one of those things where like I actually have insight to the fucking thing, so I can like talk about this. A lot of the running joke is like, oh, so you're saying with all the movie studios coming out, everybody's like, oh, a Comic-Con actually about comics? Wow, what a shocker. And like kind of just hinting like Comic-Con should be about comics, and that's it. I'm like, first of all, chill the fuck out. If you've never been to a Comic-Con, I feel like a lot of people probably haven't. Only having comics of just a small portion of it, it gets boring really quickly. A lot of people are selling the same things. A lot of people have the same comics. It's not that drastically different. You know what I mean? And so I love that like Comic-Con, it's usually where a lot of the studios go ham. And so you have a big Dark Horse area. You have a big Image area. Big Marvel, that's really cool. I like that, because you don't see that at other cons. Like a con in our city ain't gonna have DC or Marvel at it. Like it's just not going to. And so that's the cool thing about it. But you need more. Like movie studios are producing these Marvel films, so Disney should have a booth. You know what I mean? Let Disney do all this kind of shit. And Lego gets really big, right? So Lego will have a booth. And so like that's kind of cool. And the thing about Comic-Con, it's surpassed comics so long ago, because it's like a toy fair plus comics plus movies. Like that is what Comic-Con is. And then all of the things outside of the convention, the stuff that people don't even need a badge for, that's all movie studios.
Yeah,
and
it's all like, sponsored by them.
Yeah. And so it's all like, oh, Hasbro makes a fucking obstacle course, and fucking FX is doing like this party lounge. And that's what makes Comic-Con really awesome. And so when I see that comment on Twitter, I'm like, y'all have never fucking been to Comic-Con. Like, I was like, you're just saying this because you're trying to be the pretentious asshole that thinks they're like, oh, the original thing. You've never fucking been. And you've probably never been to a small Comic-Con either. Because small Comic-Cons, again, they're cool. If you want that like hometown local feel, they get boring pretty quick. So like, I don't know. But I'm debating whether if I'm going to go again, just because of cost issues, because I am flying out to, like I said, Anime Expo. So I'm just like, I don't know if I want to spend all this stuff. So we'll see. One of the hotels is not answering their fucking phone. So they're not letting me. They're like, look, everybody's going to want to cancel. Don't fucking answer that phone. Okay. Don't answer it. Because I think a lot of people are considering canceling their trips.
Yeah.
Because of everybody pulling out. Because the one thing is like the one thing that's fun about Comic-Con, you don't need to spend a damn dime because they give out so much free shit. If you're somebody that likes that kind of stuff, right? Like pins and buttons and all that kind of stuff, so much free shit. You could flip a lot of that shit on eBay too if you wanted to. But a lot of people go for the collectibles too, right? So again, a toy fair type of thing. Like everybody goes to buy that kind of shit. But when you have all those people pulling out, it's like, oh, so does that mean the con's going to be the only exciting thing? So there's not going to be stuff outside, which a lot of people, you're there for 5 days, man. Like you got to fill that gap somehow.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but anyways, speaking of Comic-Con, I don't think there was anything really big announced for Comic-Con. It was just like,
No, just the fact that DC is going to show up there. They're going to be, of course, be in the middle of their Night Terrors event at DC. They're going to, of course, be showcasing a lot of the books that have been announced for after Comic-Con, after the summer. Of course, Brave and the Bull, or not Brave and the Bull, sorry, Batman and Robin. A lot of Birds of Prey is another book that has been announced that we're probably going to be taking a look at. But my big thing is, which is why I asked, like, when is kind of like the cutoff for people, is there has been a lot of people asking Gunn, especially now that the Superman casting has been announced, like, is there any reason to go to Comic-Con? Because they haven't announced anything. Now HBO has said that they aren't going to be at at San Diego Comic-Con, but that doesn't mean DC Studios can't be at San Diego Comic-Con, you know?
Yeah, but it also goes down to one of those things is like, is DC Studios separate from the greater Warner Brothers company? Because Warner Brothers goes. I don't know if Warner Brothers has said they're going or not. But I think if Warner doesn't go, DC Studios doesn't go. If I was James Gunn, I do a surprise appearance at the DC booth because you want to grow comics, right? I do a surprise appearance and announce one thing, just one project at the DC booth. That's what I would do. But I don't expect that to happen. By the way, one thing we didn't talk about, and none of this is confirmed, but we did see one of the scoopers that I think has a fairly good track record. I don't know. Casey Walsh said that they believe that Sasha Calle will come back as Supergirl.
Yes, that was something that that was teased, or at least in the it's a definite conversation that is happening. On whether she will come back or not.
Yeah, I'd be down with it. I feel like we didn't see. I thought she was going to be a bigger part of the Flash. We didn't really I thought she looked cool for what she was there.
Yeah,
a lot of people were harking on the fact that like, oh, she showed up and didn't get to do anything, which I don't worry about that so much. If she's going to get the Supergirl of Tomorrow storyline.
Yeah.
But then again, do you show her in Superman to kind of like let people know she is a part of it, you know? Well, and does he know that he has a cousin in that first movie?
That's the thing, though. With how they're kind of portraying what Superman legacy will be about, like from what I remember, Gunn's pitch is he is kindness when people think kindness is outdated. So, and the idea that he is alienated is going to be a big factor in the movie. So I don't think he should know that that Kara is out there if she is on Earth. So I don't think she will be showing up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Guarantee it right now. If she is Supergirl, people are going to be like, "How is she brown? How are they related?" They're fucking aliens, bro. Like you're gonna believe that part. You can't believe that they can be different skin colors. But yeah, I think that's gonna definitely be something that comes up. But the last topic we have before we jump into viewer questions, ladies and gentlemen, is something that we talk about on this podcast often or from time to time. We are big fans of manga and anime. And it has been announced that WIT Studios, which I don't know what they're popular for. I do know they are one of the bigger anime studios.
Attack on Titan.
Okay.
Spy X Family.
Shit, two
Yeah.
for two for me. So,
Yeah.
anyways, you just need to know those two in general. This is at the moment rumored, but Anime Expo, it's rumored to be announced at Anime Expo. Ironically, the day that I'm supposed to be there, because I believe that's the day their panel happens. I don't know if I will be at this panel. I will be going with a friend of mine. I've never been to Anime Expo. Usually don't go to panels on the first time I ever go to a con. I like to experience the con and kind of see what's going on. And I'm only there for a day, so I doubt I'll be going to panels. But they're not doing a DC project from what I've read. They are doing a project that will involve DC characters. So, and what I've heard is it's an isekai. So what a lot of people don't know what an isekai is, it's usually the story of like, oh, here's this character. They're usually like lonely or some kind of weird scenario where maybe they're not the most liked or they're not popular, they're not the best friend, and they die and they get sent to another world. And they have the chance to be something better in this other world, and bada bing, bada boom. That's more than likely what this is going to be, is somebody's going to get sent to another world that I think has other types of characters in it. And maybe this particular place is getting licensing from different characters. So we're going to possibly, I would assume, we're seeing Superman, Wonder Woman, or Batman in this anime.
See, the way that you say that, of course, it being an isekai, I think that the Batman and the Justice League would be kind of the perfect setting for an isekai, because I don't know if you've read that first book yet.
I've read some of it. I don't like the way they portray Batman in the book, but it is anime. But
it's not the best. But there is a girl in the very beginning that is visiting Gotham.
Yeah.
And you can, I think, just kind of rework the story a bit to have that same kind of scenario. With it not being a DC project, though, that's what's a little weird. For them to only have DC characters involved.
The wording is very interesting. So, like, on this cover on CBR says, rumor, Spy X Family's studio set to create DC Comics isekai anime. That's their wording. From this tweet that originally announced it was the upcoming WIT Studios isekai anime project will be featuring characters from American comic book published by DC. Yeah. So I would think, and I forgot if the name, I want to say I saw the name released somewhere. And I forget, let's see. Okay. The panel features a description of the anime's website, Anime Expo website, guessing it's over. Come and find out what really is the mysterious brand new anime project produced by Warner Brothers Japan and WIT Studios, one of the most celebrated anime studios, yada, yada, yada. So I don't know if that's the name of it, guessing it's over, or if it's going to be something else. But yeah, I think that's, I think it'll feature. So if it's WB Studios, right? Like first of all, I didn't know Warner Brothers had a Japan studio. I didn't know that.
Yeah, neither did I.
So that's cool. And so that makes me think that if they have a Japan Studios, that means they have the option to play around with other WB properties. Yeah. And so could this be an isekai where you get sent to a world where all of these heroes and villains like all kind of happen to be in that world? So could we possibly see maybe Harry Potter interacting with DC characters? Could we be, like, I wonder if that's, granted, I think all the licensings for this shit would be crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know how licensings works when the studio owns them. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
Does J.K. Rowling have to okay that? Like, I'm curious.
I think she would.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know how that goes exactly. Because I guess they have the licensings to her. They don't own it exactly like the way they own DC. But, I mean, if they own DC, they probably... I think more than likely it's going to be Harley Quinn that'll show up in the anime than anything. Because, they always want a fucking Tsunade type girl, right? Yeah. So, I think Harley Quinn will definitely be there. But, yeah, I don't know. Anime DC. This could be the start of something bigger. Granted, DC has kind of done stuff like this before. They did Batman Ninja, which was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Very anime. And if you haven't seen that Catwoman one that came out recently, that was very anime. And I'm surprised they allowed some of the stuff that happened in that show to happen.
Yeah, and then also coming July 6th at midnight, or technically 6th going into the 7th at midnight, there is My Adventures with Superman. If you've seen the art style, it is very, very anime-esque. Like I'm pretty sure I saw in a trailer there is a moment that looks like Superman is powering up like a Super Saiyan. So I already have it on YouTube TV ready to record. I'm going to be watching it weekly. So I'm excited to see DC kind of go into that realm of things to see what they can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they've been kind of they need to get away from the New 52 style of animation. I've never been a really big fan of it. And I think these heroes need to get back to basics essentially and not all be dark and moody. Which I believe that's something we didn't touch on in the Superman thing, but that actor, the new guy, said he really liked Henry Cavill's gritty version, but he wants to be the hopeful version of that. So I thought
and he said that back in 2019.
Yeah. So he's kind of had this on his bucket list, which I think is kind of cool. I always appreciate people that go after their dreams. Being somebody that's like that, hopefully people will be like, "Damn, I heard Juice on that podcast back in 20 whatever, and he's writing for Batman now." That's kind of what I'm hoping it'll be in the future, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, that is all we got for news, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be moving on to viewer questions. Now, I think we have a few since we had an extra day in the Discord. Let's see. First one we got is from Bats. Adding to the topic of Gunn saying that the DCU Batman casting is miles away, we might have talked about this already. Could it possible that he's aiming for a younger actor, like for the new Superman film? Or would he go older for someone like Jensen Ackles? Although he's not too old, what do you prefer? We kind of talked about this.
But the question of what would you prefer? Would you prefer a younger Batman with a younger Bat family, or would you prefer a older Batman with a senior Bat family?
Well, when you say senior, are you talking about like high school senior, or like, because senior makes me, when I hear senior nowadays, I think like my grandmother.
That's true. With a experienced Bat family, there's a better phrase.
I would go with a real life actor in their late 30s to early 40s. With a cast of teens to mid 20-year-olds for the Bat family.
Okay. Yeah.
10 years apart, because that's kind of how I always see them. That at least the youngest, right? Batman to Dick Grayson should be 10 years apart, at least, in my opinion.
I think at the least, maybe 8 to 10 years for Bruce and Dick Grayson is very feasible in my mind. So I would agree. But to get the youngest to be Damian at that point, I think he needs to be in his 40s.
Yeah, well, I mean,
or late 30s.
2023 Clay. People are very progressive nowadays. Because I mean, him and Talia could have banged on his adventures of training. You know what I mean?
True.
Because I don't think they're gonna go with the origin of the rapey Batman. They're probably gonna go with a more consensual thing.
Yeah.
So I do think that could easily be something like, if they were to cast younger, they could be like, remember when you trained with, my father and yada, yada, yada. Well, that night you have a kid. Like, oh, fuck, you're trying to get my money, bitch. Prenup. But like, yeah, so I don't know what they're going to do there. I do think that, they're going to go definitely older than Superman for sure. So I don't know how drastically I think mid 30s is probably going to be their starting point.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then because let's say you go 35 and Damian's 13. I mean, I think Damian's going to be a 10-year-old, to be honest.
I think that you get him introduced into the DCU with Batman Brave and the Bold, and you work his way up to like learning that all these other superheroes are in the world, and then learning about the Teen Titans. Like, I think that would work a lot more than him being in Brave and the Bold, and the next movie he's in Titans. I think there needs to be development there. Yeah. So I would agree. I think he's in the range of like 8 to 10 years old, and then midway through wherever Gunn wants to go with the universe, that's when we see him progress into the Teen Titans.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to film Damian very quickly.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to be a child for a long time. That's why I think you got to get him real young, and then you get him for maybe 2 movies. And then he's just going to look super older. And it's just like, well, fuck. Because you also don't know, like, man, kids can fucking grow. So, like, he could be a fucking, short stack and then, bloop, fucking shoots up. And you're like, well, you don't look like a Robin at all anymore. Like, you're taller than Batman.
I was going to say, you're taller than Tim Drake. This isn't going to work out.
So, yeah, it's tricky when you cast kids, man, because you never know. But I think it worked well in Shazam. And they were older than their original movie. So,
yeah.
I think it'll work, but we'll see. But yeah, I don't want Jensen Ackles. We've said that. Moving on to our wits. What is one scene you want Batman to have in the new film universe? For example, I want to see Batman 1 punch Guy Gardner. That would be interesting. I want a sacrifice scene.
For example, I want Batman to one punch Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
In the universe, not necessarily the first movie.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be I want the white eyes. But the white eyes is the only way this scene works. Is I want to see Batman in the shadows and you only see his eyes.
Yeah. We didn't get any of that in The Flash, so I'm worried if Muschietti won't do that. He gave us the blue cowl, though.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll go bluer for the next stuff. But I want to see, and it sucks because The Flash kind of tried to do this with the sacrifice scene, but I think you need to build up really liking Batman to enjoy the sacrifice scene. And I want to see something like him trying to crash the tower into Earth for the Thanagars, or him falling like or flying a plane into something because he needs to destroy it or whatever. And then of course being saved by Superman. But I don't know. I want to see something along those lines, or I don't know. I would love to see, him fighting the whole Justice League, but that's just a Batman fan in me, because I do think that's one of my favorite things out of Scott Snyder's run.
Yeah.
But it's way too soon to have, like, even in this first chapter, even in the second chapter, to have the good guys become evil. Like, it's a trope I think has been used too much lately. So I don't really want to see that. But yeah, I don't know. I think like a good sacrifice scene where you make it really dramatic. Like, I want a really dramatic scene where it actually seems like Batman's about to die. And then he doesn't. So maybe you have to do it in like Justice League 2 or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what I want to see. Young says, which speedster is your favorite costume? It could be from anything. Mine's A-Train from The Boys. I think A-Train has a shitty costume.
I think he has the weakest costume.
Yeah, out of everybody. I mean, I guess maybe the Deep is probably the next one. But I think A-Train's costume is shitty.
Well, out of the boys, I think the Deep is probably the weekest costume.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess we're talking about speedsters, right?
Yeah, speedsters altogether, though.
A-Train's outfit looks so shitty. Like, I'm looking at it right now. It just looks like a guy that you see working out at the gym.
Yeah.
Like, with fucking Under Armour on.
Now, I kind of agree with, I believe it was Arwitz that said Zoom from the CW season 2.
It is pretty fire.
It's so good.
Yeah, let's see. As for a casual, funny one, I do enjoy what's his name from Days of Future Past. No, it's not Days. X-Men. No. What's his face? The fast one that has that one scene. I forget where it's from.
It's Quicksilver.
Yeah, I don't mind his outfit, but it's just like really 80s. So
yeah,
I don't think it's anything too crazy. Definitely better than A-Train's, I think. Let's see, the Flash show costumes, because that's the only show that's going to have a lot of speedster costumes. I don't think the Flash had any good ones in the show. I think they all kind of look weird.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like the quality looks really weird. I mean, especially if you look at that costume on like fucking Stephen Amell, looks horrible.
Yes, Stephen Amell does not fill that suit whatsoever.
I will say the Flash in the actual movie that we just saw recently, when it's not covered in CGI, looked really good.
It looks decent, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the second season that Grant Gustin's Flash has the white logo, not the first white logo, because the first white logo that's in season 3. It looks good, but the second time he has like the next season after that is when they change the color of red. And so he has the proper color of red. He has the white symbol, but it's still like the same kind of suit. I really enjoyed that. And then it was after that where they started to make like the suit look a little bit more cloth and tried to make it. And Grant Gustin even said like
the cloth is weird.
They tried to make it a little bit more comfortable for me. And he was saying that they had to literally like squeeze every nook and cranny into like his armpits and his groin and everything to make it look right. I'm just like, God damn, that sucks.
Yeah, I think I have to go with Zoom, to be honest. I think Zoom's is probably the best. It's all black. It looks fucking badass. He filled it out pretty well too.
Also, Teddy Sears, who does play Zoom, his Jay Garrick costume, I really like that one too.
Yeah, that was too bad. Classic. It was pretty fire. But yeah, I think I'd have to go with Zoom. I don't think there's anybody else that I think would be better than that. Yeah. Definitely not Iris's when I can't believe they made her a superhero. That's the one thing I don't like about the CW stuff is they ran out of like shit. And they're just like, oh yeah, what else are we gonna do here? But yeah, I would go with Zoom. I'd have to agree with that. Let's see, what else do we got? Was that all of it from?
I think that's all of it from the Discord.
Okay. No, actually, here's a question. Do you think The Flash was worth the 7-year wait? VFX. So it didn't take 7 years to do VFX. Like I think that's what people are getting misconstrued about. It's just the movie was in production hell. Like we're talking about the script is what took the longest, I feel like. Yeah. And then you can't count COVID. Like that's not fair to count those 2 years. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I'm not gonna. Again, I have said this on the podcast. I think part of the Flash stuff was stylistic. Doesn't mean it looked good, but it was stylistic. They said they wanted it to look that way because we were supposed to see it as the Flash. But a lot of people don't understand perspective, and like unless you explain it to them, And so unless there was a scene in the Flash where he's like, "Oh yeah, everybody looks kind of different," like when I'm running, and they're like, "Oh, that's because yada yada yada." You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just don't think you can really do perspective when it comes to superheroes. I think you just got to make it look as cool as possible.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of the problem.
I think that it could have been more polished. It was one of the first comments that I made to Juice when we walked out of that theater. I think that there was a lot of weight and a lot of expectations from the studio with these artists working on this movie, and they were just under a lot of pressure, and that's probably why it doesn't look amazing. Yeah. Realistically, if the drama at WB and DC wasn't as hectic as it was, we would have got this movie 6 years ago, 7 years ago, probably closer to 5 years ago. But still, like I will say that I did enjoy the movie. I just hope that with this new DCU, that even if people want to try to review bomb, because I expect Superman to be review bombed like crazy.
Really?
I think that a lot of the Snyder Bros will still try to destroy Gunn, and it will be review bombed. at least like not when like it's important with like the critics and stuff, but when it gets its hands on just like the normal reviewers, I think it will be review bombed. But I just hope that Zaslav is okay with Gunn saying like, "Hey, let's just write it out and see what happens," because that's what you have to do. Like, you can't be reactionary.
And he said that from the start, so I'm hoping that'll be the case. I don't know if you have this in your Discord. This is totally a side thing. I joined a server, or one of the servers I joined. I haven't turned off the sound effects when somebody chats in there, and it's driving me up the fucking wall right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's like, I guess other people are chatting right now, so it's like boop, 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 like every new message. And I'm like, where the fuck is this chat happening right now? Like, it's so annoying. And I just can't find it. I'm like, what the fuck? Because I usually turn on notifications for all of them, so I don't know how it's happening. But anyways, so yeah, that's what's going on. But I think that is everything. I mean, The Flash, I am just shocked it came out. That's the one thing I'll say. I think for what it was, I think it's one of the better superhero movies in a long time. I haven't watched Marvel in a really long time because I haven't cared. Like, I haven't had any interest in it. They gave me what I wanted from Batman. I wanted Batman to look cool. I mean, that opening scene, I mean, I've seen it on Twitter, people praising it like crazy. Like, oh my God, this fucking opening scene was nuts. Because that motorcycle was crazy. Like, that shit had so many gadgets on it. And I was like, that's Batman. And like, I know a lot of people have been shitting on the suit. Like, I didn't really have a problem with the suit because I was like, that's just like Iron Man having a bunch of different suits. If Batman was like, I'm gonna have to chase guys in this, like, on, you know, across the area, let me get my suit that can actually take some damage, because that suit looks like it can grind against things. You know what I mean? And it's not like, I feel like if he wore his other suit, it would just get scraped up and do whatever. I think a lot of people feel like they put their minds into the idea of like, oh, Batman's suit should be able to go to space and fucking survive and do all that kind of shit. Where I'm more of the like, no, I want him to actually have suits for occasions. You know what I mean? I don't like the one suit fits all situation kind of thing. Because he is human. Like, at least make him think like, oh, science-wise, he has to create shit to be on par with these other people. I like the suit. Is it better than the one Snyder did? Probably not. I was gonna say, is it better than Nightmare Batman? Nightmare Batman's kind of cool. Actually, I will say I like this suit better than the Justice League suit. I didn't like the Justice League suit.
I didn't like the Justice League suit either.
You know,
like BVS the tactical look on him.
Yeah, BVS better. I didn't like the metal plates that they put on it. Like, I don't need you to go that far into it. Like, if it's gonna make the suit look bulkier, just say like, oh yeah, we got these ultra mega fibers that like are super great and like they're, you know, heat resistant, blah blah blah. Say that, tell me that, and I'll be good. But yeah, I don't know. I'll go with that. But moving on to the UB Tubes. Again, I got a shout out to everybody that has been listening to the podcast on YouTube. Another video over 1,000 views. Shout out, everybody. Y'all are awesome. But you know what? Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 500 subs. So, you know, hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. You're 1,000 plus of y'all are listening. You're not hitting that subscribe button. No. So, help us out there. But anyways, we got Jason Todd. Am I the only one who's surprised there hasn't been a lot of Ezra Miller hate since The Flash came out? Maybe I just haven't seen it otherwise, but it seems like Ezra's accusations are genuinely forgiven/forgotten. All I've seen is the memes. I haven't even seen memes.
I haven't seen memes. And Jason, I don't know where you've been, because it's the two reasonings that I have seen for the movie flopping is none of these movies matter and Ezra Miller. Like, that is the only two. There's the third one that's like, hey, the theaters are too crowded right now, which I do think is a big deal. Is like, hey, not every movie, I said it last week as well, not every movie can make $1 billion if they're all blockbuster hits. Like, people, especially in this economy, are going to choose, hey, which movies they're going to want to see in theaters and which ones they're going to want to see in streaming. But the two main factors is like, hey, this movie doesn't matter, and Ezra Miller is a menace to society. Yeah, I agree with that. Also, The Flash is being taken out of 1,500 theaters this week. So and it's going to Max already on July 18th, something like that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's officially a bomb. I was kind of hoping that it would have a resurgence, but it is what it is. It's going to Max, and I do think once it comes out that weekend of Max, people are gonna be like, "Oh, this movie was actually pretty fire." Like, I think that's what's gonna happen on Twitter. But yeah, I've seen more of the just random complaints, and just people wanted to hate this movie though. Like, I've said that I saw some like egregious reviews for this movie and just saying like it was a fucking 1 out of 10 kind of shit. And I'm like, well, shut the fuck up. Like, I know I'm a harsh critic, but I try to give actual reasons on why the movie sucks. You know what I mean? Not just because, oh, I don't like this actor, so it's a 1 out of 10. Like, I think those kind of reviewers are stupid. Another reason why I say don't trust reviewers. Go watch something for your own opinion. Moving on from McRib Prime. I don't think we've got too many people from this. I think this might be a first time comment. I don't think I've seen this name.
I think so.
But okay, so let's put this into context for people. The Flash did not cost 200 million, closer to 300 to 350 million. This is usually including
marketing and everything else.
Yeah. However, that is a pinch to what they have lost in the last week. WB has lost 18% of their stock value in 11 days. What does this mean? A company that is currently valued at approximately 28 billion now has 50 billion in debt and has lost 18% of their value, which means that they are 2 times more in debt than the company is worth. I don't know if any of this is true. I have not looked into this.
It is he is right in some aspects. The debt is 50, it's above 50 billion. It's, I believe, 52 billion is what was last reported. And I think that was right after the Flash released.
And then so to go on, they say the Flash may lose 300 million, but the stock drop has wiped close to 6 billion from their market. Champagne, everyone. This is karma, or they put Kama, but I believe they meant karma. They fired Cavill, lied, and absolutely treated him like shit. A gentleman and a role model. We don't know Cavill. We don't know if he is a gentleman and a role model. That is just the way he's perceived. Just want to throw that out there. Yet they retained, predicted, and publicly supported a vile, pathetic stain against people, including women. Reap it, WB. So obviously, somebody who doesn't like Ezra Miller, as we talked, which I think is very funny in contrast compared to the Jason Todd question. This person, obviously, if I just had to look at it, is a Zack Snyder fan because their icon is the Superman statue that is in BVS. So, or is this at the end of Man of Steel? Or no, he dies in BVS. So that's when the thing's created. Look, I've never been on this fucking train of fucking hate WB. I want to see WB go bankrupt because they hurt my feelings that Zack Snyder didn't get his movie. I don't care about that shit. Like, I've never cared. Because I mentioned this earlier in the podcast. I'm fucking tired of the moral high ground shit. Everybody's going to have their thing that they stick up for and everything that they believe in, right? But I think every company you buy something from, probably bad. 90% of the chance, they're a good company. I think everything, if a company is worth $1 billion, they're probably treating somebody like shit. So, I'm not a fan of getting on this moral high ground. Again, I think it's comments like this with the like, oh yeah, Henry Cavill, all that kind of stuff is why it was probably best to wipe the slate clean. But I don't think this person is going to change their mind though. And Mick Prime, if you want to respond to this, if you have a more opinion on this particular thing, it seems like your mind's not going to get changed if DC were to wipe the slate clean, because you're still going to be upset that Henry Cavill got fired and was treated like shit, as you say. I don't think this person necessarily gets their mind changed with the new universe. So you kind of have to just consider we're just losing them as a fan and they're just going to hate us forever.
Yeah. And as far as the stocks and everything else, WB Discovery has had a very much losing battle ever since the investors call where Zazov was like, oh, like we have a 10-year plan, blah, blah, blah. Like that day stocks were going down. Because Zaslav was not the type of person that people like. He didn't sound like the type of person investors are like, oh, I can trust this guy. It was like, this guy sounds very desperate for our money. Currently, from what it looks like, with the WBD stock. It was on the rise up until the release of the Flash, and then it has gone down ever since.
Yeah.
Currently, we're seeing WB at $12.50. The highest it was within a month ago was $14. When Zaslav was announced as the runner of WB, it was up to 26, and it has not gone up since.
Yeah.
It's just they have a upwards battle with their brand, which is one of the questions that I asked you in the beginning of this podcast. Like, is this going to be a branding issue? And it's 100% a branding issue. People have lost faith in the idea of like, DC, I could probably wait until streaming. They need to prove, hey, this is a movie that you need to go see in the theater.
Yeah.
You know? So it's gonna be a weird situation, but I think we will know definitively after we see Superman. Like, oh, we got something on our hands.
Yeah, and you also got to look like at again, just going back to this comment, the people that were a part of the Flash, like they're not at DC anymore. They're not WB anymore. They've all been fired.
Yeah,
like Zaslav cleaned house. So to get mad at DC, I mean, if you want to get mad, I think you can get mad up until Aquaman. But after that, you can't get mad anymore. Those people aren't in control. So everything right now going forward is a whole new team, and they're cleaning up the shit. As much as you like Zaslav or not, I feel like Zaslav's there to get in the green where they're like so deep in the red right now. And so that's the unfortunate thing. If you don't think that WB was just making bad decisions on DC, they let Christopher Nolan go. And his movie right now is one of the most talked about movies going up against Barbie. Like, that should have been a WB movie. And it's going to be what, fucking Paramount or some shit like that. And Zaslav has already said that he's like, we want to get Nolan back.
Yeah, I was going to say there has been articles recently that apparently Zaslav has had conversations with Nolan and has like actually offered like money for him to come back to WB.
Yeah, he was like, we want to bring him home because so many things have been done at WB. When I went on my tour of the WB studios, I believe they were filming Dunkirk or Tenet at the time. They were like, oh yeah, this movie theater right here is holding the new Christopher Nolan movie. And so I was like, oh shit. So it was one of those for sure. But yeah, like I think WB, that just goes to show you how much they kind of have fallen off the horse. How do you let go of Christopher Nolan? Like, now granted, I don't think Tenet and Dunkirk were probably as big as his previous movies, like Inception and stuff. Still great movies. Tenet was confusing as fuck, but like I do think people enjoyed them. And then Oppenheimer, like of course people were gonna go watch that. So yeah, I don't know. I think WB, a lot of the people that were making bad decisions are not there anymore. So like, how long are you going to continue the hate of WB? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At some point, it becomes you just doing a disservice to yourself. Because if you like Superman, are you never going to watch another Superman movie until Henry Cavill comes back? Like that's how I view it. How long are you willing to go on? Like, because like, let's just say this. Like, think about one thing. Is what happened with WB? What if Sony PlayStation did something egregious or like fired one of your favorite people or whatever? Like, let's just say Kojima, right? Like they fucking fired him. Konami fired him, and like everybody's like, oh fuck this, we're never gonna play Konami games and stuff. Totally fine. It's easy to get away from a studio. What if PlayStation did it? Would you never play another PlayStation video game? I ain't gonna do that. Fuck you. I'm still playing PlayStation. Like, I'll say fuck PlayStation, but I'm still playing PlayStation. Like, it's just because I don't care that much. You know what I mean? Again, because it's the moral high ground. You pick which one you want to live on, and that's totally fine. I respect everybody doing whatever they do. I'm just curious, like, how far do you go with it? You know?
Yeah, I think that like this whole idea of like never watching another superhero movie or never watching another DC movie just for the fact that Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill are not going to be Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
Like, what were you going to do when they died?
Yeah.
If they were still playing the character, like, were you never going to see another Superman movie again? Like,
yeah.
These characters transcend the actors. They were here before they were born, and they're going to be here after they die. Like, it's just the way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
When it comes to the idea of like, if I fall in love with the DCU, when it ends, it ends.
Yeah.
Like, I'll see another Superman movie because I'm sure they'll reboot, or I'll still have the comics or whatever. Like, the idea of like, oh, I can never watch my favorite superhero again. That's a really stupid statement in my mind.
Well, here's the thing too, like, is it only because of the way he was treated that everybody's upset? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that wanted to see Zack Snyder's vision, right? What if Henry Cavill left before that vision was made? Like, let's just say Zack Snyder was going to do it, but Henry Cavill becomes a superstar and he's like, I'm done with Superman. Like, you want 5 films? I'm only going to do these 3. Like, I'm going to do the next Superman and then I'm out. I'm not going to do all 5. And what do you hate Henry Cavill at that point? Because he has precedent of leaving a show. He left The Witcher. So, like, what if he would have left Superman? You know what I mean? Do we hate Henry Cavill? Like, that's the mindset I'm trying to get in with people that want to see WB burn. I just don't get it. I don't know. I've been against the whole Snyder cult and stuff like that for a long time. I've made that very clear. Just because it seems like they're riding that shit till they die, which is crazy. But anyways, moving on to Nathan. Which storyline would be the most interesting to see? Ra's al Ghul puts Bruce's parents in the Lazarus pit for them to do his bidding in a bigger plan. Hugo Strange plans to ruin Batman's reputation by making villains into superheroes. Batman has to operate from Arkham for a while after Hush frames Bruce for murder, disguised as him. I feel like all of these have they've kind of been done in a variation, I feel like. Batman has been framed for murder 1 billion times. So not interesting in my opinion. Hugo Strange plans to ruin Batman's reputation by making supervillains superheroes. Doesn't seem believable in my opinion. Nobody's going to believe the Joker's a superhero like after he's killed millions of people or hundreds.
And even, I don't think even like, because I don't remember how currently in current comics what the status of Hugo Strange is. We haven't seen him.
He's a bad guy still.
So long. But is he a bad guy known by like Gotham? Like, does Gotham know he's a bad guy? Or is he like Waller that's like, oh, I'm here to help Gotham, and Batman?
Yeah, I don't think he's like known like Joker or Two-Face. But I think the people that know of Hugo Strange know he's not a good guy.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if we're going off Avengers Continued, he was working. Was he working with the military?
Yeah, he was working with the military.
So he might be more on the tier of Amanda Waller. Granted, do we think Amanda Waller's a villain?
She's not necessarily a good guy.
She is. So, but it goes down to one of those things like, we don't think the government's good, right? But it's necessary.
Yeah.
So is she a necessary hero?
Well, and that's the thing, like, because one of the lingering stories of Nightwing that is definitely being touched upon in other books as well is like Waller is building up a team to like fight the heroes.
Yeah.
So that's clearly not a good guy.
Yeah.
But
is she doing what Batman would do to have contingencies? Is she the contingency for the Justice League? She lives in the gray.
She definitely does.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is like with Hugo Strange, would the citizens of Gotham see a press release with Hugo Strange making the announcement of like, oh, freaking Scarecrow. What's his name?
You're talking about the actual Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane?
Yeah, Jonathan Crane has been rehabilitated and is using his toxins in such more valuable ways for the government and military. Blah blah. Like Peacekeeper 1. Like, do you know what would have made Peacekeeper 1 like such a more compelling story? Is if we were told all of this jargon by characters we actually know. If that was Hugo Strange doing that, I think it would have been a little bit more like, oh, okay. But because it was like this brand new company, again, comic book creators wanting to create their own thing so that way they can get residuals and all of this other stuff. I just think like when it comes to those type of storytellings, readers are more willing to look at these things and say, "Oh, I can appreciate this because these are characters that I know," compared to, "Hey, this is a new person. I don't know them. How are they introduced into this book without actually being introduced? And now they're playing a huge role in Gotham. I don't believe that type of story, you know?"
Yeah.
So I think with it being Hugo Strange, I think it could be a story that people would be willing to try. But would it be a story that I'm necessarily like, oh yeah, this is gonna be out of the three, this is the one I definitely want? I can't say that necessarily, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I still can't find this Discord thing. It's annoying the fuck out of me. I'm like, where is it at? But yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think he's well known compared to a lot of people. Out of these three, though, the Ra's al Ghul one, I don't care. I don't care. And I don't think that would be that interesting. There was actually a story recently where the Waynes were back and Batman was trying to figure out how they were back or some shit like that. It was in like Urban Legends or something that was like really, it was like a long story too. It was like 6 issues or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think all of these are kind of bad. Like I wouldn't care for them. I don't think the Hugo Strange one would be that great, in my opinion. I guess it's doable. I just don't think it's that believable to me. I think if I wanted to read at any of these, I'd read the Arkham one because at least Batman's operating from within Arkham. You know,
Yeah.
that might be interesting. But that's actually kind of happened in the, I think what they call, I don't know what it was called. Was it called Arkham City or the Gates of Arkham or Arkham something? It was when Bruce gave up his house to be Arkham Asylum for a while. And he actually went into Arkham disguised as like an inmate or something and like watched over people for a while. So
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I forget what it was called exactly, but yeah, I don't know. So kind of crazy. But yeah, I would go with that one. Let's see. Moncray, up next. What Batman villain would canonically be the best in bed? Villain? I feel like you'd probably have to go with like Poison Ivy or something, right? I feel like Poison Ivy's got the pheromones and shit that she can do. She's probably gonna wow everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can go Clayface. He can get you in every hole if you want that. So,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, I don't know. Where the fuck is this thing coming from? Yeah, I'm gonna go with Poison Ivy. That's my.
I'm either gonna say Poison Ivy or shit. What are the twins? The contortionist twins.
The ones from Nightwing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget their names.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. Batman villains.
Oh my god! I swear I'm going to destroy whatever this thing is.
So it is Ragdoll, aka Peter Merkel Jr., a triple jointed contortionist. Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's one guy though. You're saying the twins.
Oh, that's right.
Ragdoll is definitely. Are you thinking about the twins, the acrobatic twins that were in the next Nightwing issue?
No, there's other twins. But they're like assassins. I know that they're in there.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know which ones you're talking about then.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. But yeah, I think that's kind of. I'm gonna go with Poison Ivy. I think also again, she has the effect of Clayface. She got all the plants; they can help you out, do all this other stuff. I'm gonna go Poison Ivy there. I think obviously, my easiest one is probably Catwoman as well, but I think Poison Ivy kind of tops her probably. Let's see. Alexis Barrera says, "What trilogy are you taking? Part 1, Ra's al Ghul. Part 2, Mad Hatter. Part 3, Mr. Bloom. Side villains, Dollmaker and Black Mask. Option 2, Part 1, Clayface. Part 2, Red Hood. Part 3, Court of Owls. Side villains, Ventriloquist and Condiment King. Option 2 seems great until you said Condiment King. But I think Part 2 is just so much better than Part 1. If Condiment King is the comedy relief, I think I go with option 2.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you can build. I mean, I guess you could build a movie off of any of these, but like movies that have Clayface, Red Hood, and Court of Owls as the main villains, I'm going with that.
I don't know, because I think that, again, like for me, I do appreciate the fact that both of these are options that aren't the regular villains, right? So that'll always be appreciated. But I think I would choose. I think I would have to go option 1. With because I know that there is a huge debate with us in as far as like the very famous grounded conversation.
Yeah.
But you go Ra's al Ghul all the way to Mr. Bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Like it gets more and more supernatural. You go Ra's al Ghul, Mad Hatter, and then Mr. Bloom. I think that's fun. Because it gets crazier and crazier as the trilogy goes on.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas in option 2, you're starting off with supernatural, going to nothing super crazy, and then going to the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
And then having Condiment King in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if option 2 is really my thing. I think option 1 sounds a little bit more fun in the sense of like you can even tie it to like how do you remember the conversations that Bale was having in interviews of like, oh yeah, my voice got more and more dark as the trilogy progressed because that's just like the progression of my character. You go the same way, but legitimately, like it's just like, oh, his character goes more and more into darkness or into insanity due to like how crazy the villains get within the trilogy. And I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, it would be definitely pretty interesting for sure. I mean, if you're gonna give me either of these, fine, I'll take either one. I don't really care. I do want to see Dollmaker and Black Mask, but I don't know if I want Dollmaker and Black Mask to be side characters. And in what movies are they side characters? You know what I mean? Is where I would want to know. Because I feel like one of them would probably have to be in the Mr. Bloom area. I just also feel like, I don't know, because like I feel like villains should go together really well. And I feel like Dollmaker is very like should be a main villain. Because who do they compete with? Like who are they going to work with?
Well, in this instance, you know, kind of like in the same vein of like, oh, it's getting darker. I think Dollmaker would have to team up with Mr. Bloom, and Black Mask would have to team up with Mad Hatter.
Black Mask and Mad Hatter, though? It seems really weird.
It does, but it doesn't sound weirder than Ra's al Ghul and Black Mask.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Ra's al Ghul will work with people that will get things done.
As soon as I said it, I was like, oh, well, I think Ra's al Ghul could like use his like money and power to be like, hey, if you can distract Batman for a bit for my greater plans, I think that could work.
Yeah. And then like Condiment King, I don't think would be working with any of the villains. I think he would just be trying to do his own thing. Like throughout the movie, they would just like let him go. You know what I mean? They're like, all right, Condiment King, get out of here. Because he's not hurting anybody, right? He's just a nuisance. And then Batman, like every time he'd be fighting somebody and then Condiment King's ready to do something, maybe he just thwarts one of the bad guys and he's like, oh, not again, you know? I think he'd be like a joke throughout the whole movie. Ventriloquist, I could see maybe working with Red Hood because that's more of the mob thing. You know, he was going after the mobs. He'd probably be taking out each of the mobs to get Batman's attention, and then he would go up to Ventriloquist and be like, whoa, we could work together, chum. You know what I mean? And like, he would be like, how can I help you? You know what I mean? And then they'd kind of have that thing going. So, yeah, I don't know. I will take either of these over what we're probably going to get, which is going to be Two-Face, Scarecrow, Joker. So we already got Riddler. So, yeah, I'll take any of those. We got Clay going up here. It says, what casting would be most controversial, assuming that they're all in their prime? Kristen Stewart as Raven. I'm going to go with that one. I don't know. Charlie Sheen as Batman. Maybe that's worse. Amber Heard as Poison Ivy. Seth Rogen as Clayface. Seth Rogen's not controversial. It's just stupid. Amber Heard as Poison Ivy. I mean, she's only controversial now. I think people would have been all for this if she was beforehand, because people were down with her being Mira.
Before her shitting in beds, I think people would have been okay with this.
Yeah. Out of this, I think Charlie Sheen is the most controversial. Yeah, he's the most controversial because one, he doesn't seem like Batman, and two, I think he has like a fucked up past. That's why he's not in Hollywood anymore, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that would be the most controversial because you'd be bringing him out of his terrible retirement or whatever to be Batman. Like that would be the most controversial for sure. Yeah, Seth Rogen. Can you imagine that laugh with Clayface? Like,
see, Seth Rogen's Clayface, I could believe if we were making the Harley Quinn TV show into a live action.
Yeah. Moving on, we got Metallica. What do you think the first DC sex scene would look like? Who would be in it? I'm assuming they mean in movies.
Yeah. We've technically already seen like the beginning of one in, I believe, BVS with Superman and Lois.
Well, I'm pretty sure Batman fucks in the Keaton movies. Or is it the Kilmer ones? Because like she's like super wants his dick in those movies.
Oh, Kidman with like the lace and lingerie shit?
Yeah, she's like in the lingerie and shit. Yeah. And then like all of the Poison Ivy movie, they were trying to fuck Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
So like it would definitely be Batman. I'm still wondering if there's a deleted scene of, you know, Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz fucking on the Batmobile. Just didn't make it to the cut, you know, but I don't know, man. I don't think you're ever going to really see that in the movies. It's always going to be implied. Probably going to be Catwoman and Batman because it's just like spicy, like on a rooftop, you know, if they were to do anything. But it's going to be like her ripping off his cow and then that's going to be the scene. Like it's just implied. I don't think you're ever going to see that. Or like they, you know, the next scene is she's covered in his cow or some shit. But I don't think we'll ever see that. Now, if you're talking in comics, it happens all the time. Yeah. So it's not anything there. Last one, we got Eduardo de la Cruz. Remember when you were making out with your first girlfriend and you came right out and she touched your leg? It was me, Barry. I jerked you off on a super speed so it would look like you nutted at who would win. What? Okay. Y'all's comments are getting out of pocket, but that was so random.
Oh,
it was funny.
That was great.
The Flash versus Majin Buu. Rick and Carl versus Ellie and Joel. That's a good one.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Brainiac versus Lord Zed. Remind me who Lord Zed is.
Lord Zed is the red brainy dude from Power Rangers.
Oh, okay. Ooh, what are his powers? Because I only remember him having the staff.
So he has the staff that is like infused with like magic and shit. So he could one of the big things is that it can like turn into a snake. It like does all of his like blasts with the staff as well. He's infused with like some sort of superhuman strength. Okay. But it's all like brute strength type of stuff. He's so in the backstory of the comics, he is actually the same race as Zordon. Yeah, and they were actually friends. They were like captain and commander type of thing. So he does have military training. Like he has this like large background. Yeah. So he's just like really evil and now is infused with like these type of mystic powers.
What I'm hearing is Brainiac wipes him.
I definitely think that Brainiac could possibly wipe him. Yeah.
I as much as Brainiac is, when it comes down to information, nobody's better, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have the Mobius chair. So like Brainiac has all like military training, all that bullshit doesn't fucking matter when it comes to Brainiac. Cause like, I mean, that dude can take over planets. Like he's nuts. So yeah, I'd go with Brainiac, easy win there. Majin Buu versus the Flash is really interesting because Majin Buu can take damage. Like,
so Majin Buu can take damage, yes, but it takes a while. Because I'm pretty sure like one of the big things, and I have really been itching to restart Dragon Ball Z. But correct me if I'm wrong. In like the first few episodes where Majin Buu like first met the Z fighters, they would like punch him and like he would like bounce, right? And act like
he go,
yeah. So like imagine the Flash doing like 1,000 hits and it not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Majin Buu literally got blown to pieces by an atomic bomb and still came back.
Yeah.
You know, which is crazy. By the way, Clay, side tangent, we need to talk about this Vegeta Piccolo conversation that you said is not wrong, though. Okay, look, Vegeta single-handedly made Perfect Cell. Piccolo wasn't trying to let Cell go away. Vegeta literally could have killed him and let him go and created Perfect Cell and got more people killed.
Yes.
Yeah. Defend it, Clay. Go ahead. Defend it.
So it's the fact that he got regenerative powers. That within itself, because we always say, whenever it comes to these fights that we get in our comments, the person with the regenerative powers usually is like, hey, they win hands down.
Yeah.
Cell got regenerative powers before the fight with the final Flash. So
you're thinking, oh yeah, you're telling he gets blown up. Yeah.
Because that's at that moment, that's when he said, oh, I could kill you, but you know, you think you can be more powerful than me now? Go ahead, go do your thing and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Vegeta could have killed him before that, though, before he became Perfect Cell, though. So he had regenerative powers then too, and Vegeta was beating his ass. And he literally was like, I want a tougher challenge. So go ahead and become perfect because I'll beat you then too. Then does Final Flash and gets his ass beat after that, if I remember correctly. Trunks is like, that's why Trunks is so pissed.
That's true.
So he could have killed, because he is first form Cell when he fights Piccolo. So if you're saying he gets the regenerative powers from Piccolo, then he fights Vegeta at second form. Yes. And that's when Vegeta's like, you're not strong enough, bitch.
And
like,
that was after that was after they got out of the hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah. So he's like super strong. It just hands down, he sacrificed somebody's life just to have a better fight. Like that's super fucked up. Like, so like I just saw that. I was like, but you can spot a Vegeta fan from a mile away. Trying to fight that argument, like, oh my god.
You just have beef with two of my favorite characters in Dragon Ball Z, and I always try to defend it. I'm just like, I'm sorry, I have to. It's Gohan and Vegeta. Those are my top two.
I love Gohan until they made him a bitch. He was good in the last film, though. That was cool. But will he continue to be that good?
Well, they are adapting the movie into the canon manga. Okay. So I think that they will.
If he continues being awesome, then I will be back on the Gohan train. But I don't like, they murdered my boy. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
They made him a school kid. Like, what the fuck? Like that's how strong, Chi-Chi is to be able to convert a Saiyan, like a Super Saiyan who should have been the strongest out of all of them to just being a school kid. Like, that's insane. Anyways, are they doing justice to Goten though? Or is he still kind of nobody?
Right now, Goten and Trunks are in high school, and they are basically Great Saiyaman and Great Saiyaman 2.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they're keeping that alive. All right. Anyways, this is weird, man, because both of these characters, because we're still technically on this question, Majin Buu can take all of the damage, and if he eats you, he gets stronger. So if he could somehow get a hold of the Flash and eat him, it's GG.
I was gonna say, if he turns him into chocolate, it's GG.
Yeah.
Like Majin Buu with the Speed Force, that's insane.
But then the Flash can phase. So like, I don't know, man. The thing is like one has time travel and one has manipulation. I think it's whoever gets like really the first good punch or the first like good dealing damage. But I just don't think the Flash is because you would think it just comes down to could Majin Buu survive what do they call his punch? That he goes around the world?
I don't know if they have like a name for it, but
Yeah.
his like around the world punch, let's just call it that. Yeah.
If Majin Buu can survive that, then it's over. Because I think that's like probably his strongest thing, right?
Yeah.
Unless he goes back in time before Majin Buu is created, you know.
Well, there was in Infinite Crisis, all of the speedsters basically sacrificed themselves. They all ran at super speed and threw Superboy Prime into the Speed Force. And so he was like lost in time. For I mean, not very long because he was OP.
Yeah.
But like if you can thrust Majin Buu into the Speed Force with no escape, like I think that's a win for Flash, but who knows?
Until he sees somebody in the Speed Force and fucking turns them into chocolate. Because you know there would be a dumb speedster that would be like, "What? Hey, who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm Majin Buu." And then fucking bloop, you know, chocolate, and it's over.
True.
And then he comes back like, "Oh shit, where's Flash at?" That would be crazy. I would like to see Majin Buu at super speed. I'm gonna say draw for me. I think it's whoever gets the first.
Yeah, I think it could go either way. Yeah.
As for Rick and Carl versus Ellie and Joel. So here's the thing. I think Rick better than Joel. I think it comes down to the kids here. Is Ellie better than Carl?
I think Ellie is better than Carl.
So then it comes down to Rick versus Ellie. Would Rick kill a kid?
Yes.
Yeah.
If it means survival. Now, again, I stopped watching after the season that Negan was introduced. So not when he was introduced at the end of the season, the next season, at the end of that season, I stopped.
Has Ellie ever killed a kid? Because Carl has.
Carl has killed a kid.
Yeah. Carl straight up murdered somebody, if I'm not mistaken.
Ellie,
I don't know if she's ever killed somebody her age.
I mean, I don't know anything about Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
So
okay. I haven't watched the show yet, so don't spoil the show.
Okay. With those two null and void, we're only going on the first game.
Yeah.
If that's the case, no, she has not killed a kid.
Yeah. She's also, if I'm not mistaken, older in the second game. So
yes.
And also, I don't know if we're getting the older version of both of them or not. Because spoilers. Well, I can't say spoilers. You probably already know the spoilers, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go Rick and Carl. I've seen Carl do some fucked up shit.
See, I would have to.
Rick's a gangster.
Rick is a gangster, but the thing is, Rick always has that sense of like, yeah, he's gonna protect the family, but he always wants to look at like the greater good of people.
Yeah.
Joel doesn't have that anymore.
Well, Rick loses that for a while, I think. When they get into Alexandria and stuff, when he's like going after Negan's people, remember? Like they're cutthroat and they start just killing everybody.
Yeah.
What sealed Rick being a badass for me is when they're in the prison and that guy tries to cut him when they're clearing the thing and he's like, "Oh, I missed." He's like, "Okay," and then he just fucking cuts his head off, or he like puts the blade right into his skull. I was like, "Oh!" I thought that was fire. So I think Rick is better than Joel in my opinion. I'm gonna go Rick and Carl because I know Carl will kill a kid flat out. So I think he'll kill. I think he'll kill Ellie. I love both of them though. I think they're great combos. I think that's all of them there. So now we're moving on to comics, everybody. And I think we have 3 books this week.
Yes.
Well,
hold on.
2 books, but 2 stories in a book.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So, which let's start off with the very short book, which was the Joelle Jones book. Which, by the way, with the new recent information about pros and tracing. What are your thoughts on Joel Jones still?
So for me, and I wanted to comment on Jen Bartel's thread.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a very ongoing battle on Twitter and just online in general for the idea of tracing, whether it's bad, whether it's not, if it helps artists or not. Um, because a lot of examples via Mitch,
Mm-hmm.
he showed a lot of his, or not Mitch, it was the guy that did the Human Target.
Mm-hmm.
He was on a thread also. He traced uh, stuff that wasn't art. It was, and I mean, I guess you can call photography art, but it
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
artists do that all the time.
yeah, it was just regular photos that you could possibly just find on Google,
Yeah.
and then they traced it into a comic book character.
Yeah.
That I think is a reference trace, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't see is a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
For me, and I see a lot of people having this argument of like, oh, if you trace your own work, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in that boat. But if I take Jen Bartel's art,
Mm-hmm.
trace it, and then call it my own, that I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't necessarily see any of the comic book creators or artists say, "Oh yeah, you can take my work. You
Mm-hmm.
know, just do it in your own style a little bit."
Yeah.
Like I never saw anybody with that. I saw more people saying, "Hey, like I've already drawn this character before.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just use that as the trace reference."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is okay. It's just the idea of taking somebody else's work that I'm still not okay with.
So if I'm not mistaken, Joelle Jones, when she was accused of tracing, she was doing poses from other people, but creating different characters, was she not?
Yes.
So she's still technically creating something new, which I kind of feel is on the same level of taking a photo and then tracing the photo. Because Mitch Gerards and George Jimenez do photography poses and then put
Yeah.
them into their books.
Yeah.
I don't think, see, because I know there's a lot of people out there, and my problem is literally taking somebody's thing. Like you take a Harley Quinn photo, you draw exactly the same Harley Quinn pose, and then you draw like flowers on it, or you just draw other little random stuff and you say it's your own. That's my problem. That's tracing, in my opinion. Because I've seen apparently somebody does that with like Babs Tarr's stuff, and they say it's their own.
Yeah.
And Babs Tarr, I think, commented on it recently. They were like, yeah, I made this so long ago, and that person's saying that it's theirs. And it was like a legit ripoff from her Ivy and Harley Quinn kissing. And what they did was they changed the colors, and they they put maybe like a bow in Harley's hair or something like that, and said like, I've drawn this a long time ago or whatever. And I was like, that's a fucking straight trace. That I have a problem with. Not necessarily like, oh, I really like this Superman pose, but I'm going to make it for like Omega Man or something like that or whatever, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not in the industry, so I don't know what the proper etiquette is, but I do find it interesting that like as an editor, I copy and paste all the time. So like it's the same shit to me because it's faster. It makes your workflow go faster. And if you are somebody that's getting paid by the page, you're definitely going to trace. Because the one thing Joelle Jones does that she did a lot in Catwoman is she didn't do backgrounds. She did colors with like dots and stuff like that, which I thought I really enjoyed. So it's just like when it comes to this Batman, I don't see how you would trace a lot of this because like she did a lot of backgrounds and stuff in this particular book, which I thought was really cool. It was a very short story called Scars, and it was about just, you know, what you would think it would be about Batman talking about how like basically every scar kind of has a story, right? Beautiful art. Nobody's ever questioned Joelle Jones's art being great. I think it's fantastic. And it's I love the way that she showed the references in this book. Of course, we have the classic, you know, Bane breaking Batman's back, which added a big scar down his spine. But then when he's like, we have all of these different images of how he got other scars from like they're all on the monitors and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. A bunch of classic fights from Batman. You know, they got, and I like how she kind of used, again, is this considered tracing or referencing or whatever when you see all the covers from fantastic artists on here? because she has the Court of Owls one by Greg Capullo. She has some of the like Joker's cards and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how that goes about working. Like, does every artist get credited in this particular book for that? Like, I don't know how that works necessarily because they're covers.
I don't believe so. I'm actually going back to see what it was looking like,
because there's a lot of actual comic covers on these panels. So I thought that was kind of cool. Love the way she draws Catwoman. That has never been a question. She has a lot of Batman and she has a whole full page of Batman Catwoman, which I think is really awesome. And then it kind of ends on this nice little story about Alfred is comforting a child Bruce Wayne and also sewing up an adult Batman Bruce Wayne, which I think is really cool. And it ends with saying, we'll have you stitched up and back on your feet, right as rain. Not so deep a laceration, but I'm afraid it'll leave a scar. And it's kind of a reference of just how like every scar is a story, you know?
Yeah.
And he has an emotional scar of his parents dying. So that was a cool little story, you know, nothing wacha, nothing crazy. But it was a nice little Batman story. And I think sometimes some of the better Batman stories are those short ones that you have to tell a lot in a little bit of time. So I thought that was kind of cool. We have kind of, unfortunately, which kind of sucks for Joelle Jones, this was kind of told at the start of Three Jokers. And it was really cool the way they did it in Three Jokers. So it kind of takes away from what she did here. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, Clay, do we want to end on Adventures Continues or do we want to end on Tom King's Batman? Because I got a lot of words on the Tom King Batman.
Okay, if you have a lot of words on it, let's go ahead and just jump straight into the Adventures Continues.
All right, let's do that.
Because I think this is going to be a very short conversation. I don't think there's a lot here. It's an interesting story, but there's not a whole lot because you can tell this is part of an arc. Like, this is only a start of an arc.
Yeah. I don't think we got told in the last books because the last books was still that army guy, if I'm not mistaken. And now, granted, for anybody that doesn't know, Adventures Continues does follow the Batman animated series. And I will say, this feels like the fucking show. Every time I read one of these books, it feels like the damn show.
I love that one of the alternate covers is always the, like, what would be the title screen for the show. Mm-hmm. I think that is really cool. And that's really fun.
That is really cool. So like the show, it was never continuous. It was just a bunch of Batman stories in a series, which I think is really cool. And I don't know if that's something you want or don't want from the new show. Or do you want it to all be one continuous story? I don't know what you would prefer. Like, I'm talking about the new Batman show that's coming out on Amazon. Do you want that to be one continuous story or a bunch of like small stories?
I think that it could because we haven't even gotten like a episode count or anything on that.
It's gonna get 2 seasons though.
I would almost want it to be like the animated series, so that way we can get as much story as possible.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how long that's gonna last, you know. I think I would almost appreciate it being like an anthology. And especially with it being black and white and all of these other different things, I think that would be really, really fun.
Yeah. Bruce Timm's going to be able to do something he never got to do before.
Oh, God.
Yeah. See how, because it was on TV. I've seen what Bruce Timm wants to do when it's not on TV, and it's going to be interesting. Could be spicy. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I want from it. I just hope it's good. I'm already like, I'm excited for it, but I don't like that Batman design. I don't like the really long ears. I've never been a fan of the really long ears. Yeah. Anyways, this particular comic book though is interesting because we have a Gotham that has no villains in it right now. Like, all the villains have been caught and it's quiet. So quiet that Batman goes on vacation, which is really interesting.
This is very, very interesting. It does feel like one of those just like animated things though. Like, because you clearly think like Batman would never go on vacation. Yeah. But this is just like a plot device to get Batman somewhere else. It's like, okay, I'll believe it, you know?
Yeah. And so Tim Drake is enjoying his time on vacation. He's in the pool, surrounded by all these hot ladies. He's even telling Bruce, like, yo, why don't you lighten up and talk to some of these ladies that have been looking at you the whole time you've been here. And it's just like so funny because they're at the beach or whatever. And, Bruce doesn't care. He's all like, he's like, he's like, go do something else. He's like, oh, you want to go waveboarding? He's like, maybe later. And Tim Drake's like, well, I'm going to enjoy my vacation. And we cut to somebody who's running through the sewers of Gotham, because we're kind of getting told throughout the story that Gotham is quiet. We even see Bullock and Montoya, I believe, going through the streets of Gotham, and they're like, oh, what fast food place do you want to hit up next? Because like we're not doing anything. So they get to like pig out, and they're not even doing their real job. They're just patrolling. And so that's how quiet Gotham is. And so I think that's kind of cool. But we have this female character running through the sewers of Gotham. I immediately thought this was Catwoman because of the way she was drawn. Same. But it's not the animated series Catwoman, which is very interesting. Because they've given her the more modern style Catwoman, short hair, black hair, green eyes still. Oh, I think did she have blue eyes in the animated series? Or the green eyes?
I think they were green.
Were they green? I think she's predominantly got green eyes more than blue eyes in a lot of the series. So we have a newer Catwoman style here. And so but she's in the shadows the whole time. You don't technically know who she is this whole time. And that's kind of why I was a little weary. I was like, this isn't the animated series Catwoman. So I'm curious on where this is going to go. But she's running
she
from
had
somebody
green eyes in the animated series.
Show. Okay. So still has green eyes here. She's running from somebody fighting him in the sewer. We cut back to Bruce on vacation. Of course, what is he doing? He's training. He's in like a Taekwondo type of place, I believe. Or like, I don't know if Taekwondo is the right thing.
Like a dojo.
Yeah, dojo with the wooden sticks, or I forget what they're called. But then this random person comes in like, oh, do you want to train? And he's like, no, thank you. And she's like, I don't take no for an answer. And so he starts fighting this woman. And of course, like she breaks his stick. And he's all like, you don't need the mask, Talia. And so he knows it's Talia right at the start. Automatically cuts to them having like drinks or something on the beach, like at this resort or whatever. And she's kind of like, why are you here? I thought you'd be in Gotham. He's like, why are you here? And she's like, well, you might own the resort, but I own the island. And so I'm like, God damn, power trips here. And he's kind of talking, she's like, if you want to know why we're here or like what's going on with my father, come find the biggest yacht in the marina or the ocean or whatever, right? You can't miss it. And so Bruce, always being the inquisitive one, ends up getting on. He does go try the surfing or windsurfing or whatever Tim Drake offered previously. And he goes to find out where's this yacht at, right? In between that, we see Selena, who again, you'll find out later that's Selena. I got really confused here, but I guess it makes sense now. She gets out of the sewer, almost gets hit by Montoya and Bullock, who's eating pizza. And they almost hit her because she comes out. She jumps on the car. And then she gets grabbed by somebody. And this is where it's really weird. So she came out of the street. Then she jumps on a car, gets grabbed by somebody, then is dropped. And then there's a gargoyle, but she survived. Like, it was really weird the way they drew it.
The panel progression is a little odd. It looks like she did get technically hit, but it was just like not hard enough to like go flying or anything. But she gets on top of the car.
They might have broke. I think
she falls up. That's when they pick her up, and then
but they pick her up from a roof, which is weird.
Well, like it's assumed. I'm thinking from when you see the thunk when she's on top of the car, from when she is falling off the car, and then you see the panel of them holding the back of her costume. I'm assuming that is them like carrying her, and so the next page. They already have her on the roof. So we miss like a good chunk of time between those two panels. It's
really weird because I read this pretty fast and late at night. I thought she got grabbed by the gargoyle. Because there's a panel where she's falling and the next panel is a gargoyle with the car. And it's Montoya and they're like, what happened? They're still questioning like who the hell they almost hit, right?
Yeah.
So I thought she got grabbed by a gargoyle. So I thought maybe this woman was going through some psychosis. You know what I mean? Maybe she wasn't being chased by somebody. So I was like, what the hell's happening here?
Yeah.
You know, because maybe since Gotham was clean, maybe people are starting to hallucinate things. Maybe everybody thinks Gotham is actually like they think it's safe, but it's not. I thought maybe something was happening.
That would have been kind of cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was happening. But again, the progression is so weird because it looks like she's falling from the roof, but then she's right under the gargoyle.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh my God, that's so weird. We cut back to, Tim Drake is all like, oh, what are you going to go do? He's like, oh, I'm going to go check out this thing. And he's like, well, I'm going to stay home and watch all of these movies or whatever.
On Max.
Yeah. That was funny. Product placement. Okay. They own it. They got to pimp it out. Which I thought was funny. So Bruce goes out to the marina to see kind of what's going on with the ocean. He sees a big boat, thinks that's Ra's al Ghul's. People come out shooting at him, and of course he's Batman, so he does his Batman thing, knocks them out, gets on the jet ski, uses a flare to knock them out, which is very smart. It doesn't kill anybody, and then gets swallowed up by a big old machine. And this big old machine turns out to be Talia's yacht. So you couldn't even see this shit. Unless it's part of the other big boat that he was going after. But they go down to this basically submarine. And, then he meets with Ra's al Ghul. So he's like, all right, let's see what's going on with your father. I thought this was really interesting because we get a really old Ra's here. Like, he's really old.
Yeah.
And, Talia had talked about how, like, the last time you met my father, you really changed his mind. Like, you gave him perspective in life or whatever. And so Bruce is like, why the fuck aren't you using the Lazarus pit? You've been using it this whole time. Like, this doesn't make sense. And Ra's, interesting turn of events here, says that it's being less and less effective.
Yeah, it's like almost killing him. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's becoming more painful. And so he's like, I just realized my time's up. And before I go, I want to try to make amends for everything I've done. And like, because he tried to do everything through villainy. And he was like, I'm trying to take over the world, try to do all this stuff to make things better. And now he's like, I'm going to do something to benefit the world. And he has made, what we find out, he made this magical, wheat that can grow anywhere in the world. It can grow up in the snow. It can grow up in mountains. It can grow anywhere. And it can be turned into any kind of food. And he's like, the food you're eating right now, that lobster is made from this wheat. And Bruce is like, the fuck? Like, first of all, always surprises me that Bruce would eat food from villains. You know what I mean? Anytime a hero does that, I'm like, why? That's like the easiest way to die. Like, oh yeah, you want to give me some food? Dead. Oh, you want some water? Here you go, Spider-Man. Yum, yum, yum. Like, you don't do that. Not from villains. Well, anyways, Bruce is really shocked. And of course, Talia and Bruce are talking about this. She's like, look, and Ra's offers it to him. He's like, here, you don't trust me. Do your detective stuff. Take it, go do all your stuff and see if I'm lying. And like, I trust you to do your research. It's why you're the detective. And this just basically leads to Talia and Bruce fucking. They're just like, we met up. Here's your, here's dessert, my daughter. And so like they hook it up or whatever. And Bruce is just kind of like, all right, maybe this is a legacy, right? Because she's like, my father believes in you still. Like, why don't you do the right thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, you can take everything he has and make the world a better place, right? Like, you're the only person he believes in, essentially. And so they kiss or whatever. And then we go back to Gotham City and we see Ivy and Harley. Now, I want to say this is also a newer version of Ivy because Ivy was never green skinned in the animated series until later.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, a newer version of both of these characters. And they're watering their plants. Also, I believe they're together here, which we kind of got that in the last thing. So that's a progression of the animated series as well. And we see the girl that's been running this whole time breaks through their ceiling, and it's Selena. And Harley and Ivy are like, oh, why is Selena here? And then we see the Court of Owls show up.
So I need to ask you this because you literally just reminded me in this episode that when she's introduced in the animated series, Selena Kyle, she's a blonde woman.
Yeah.
In season 3 and 4 of Batman the Animated Series is when Batman has like the bigger chest, the oval's not there anymore, the
Yeah.
different art style is there for Harley Quinn, for Joker with like the pointed nose, the no pupil eyes, or at least the no pupil eyes, and Catwoman has a completely different design as well.
Yeah.
Do you ever see Selena Kyle in season 3 and 4?
You do, and her art design is terrible, in my opinion. She has white eyes, and she has just pointy ears.
Well, that's what I mean.
Oh, you don't mean Selena Kyle?
You
Yeah,
see Catwoman, but do
yeah.
you see Selena Kyle?
I don't know, because I don't think there's that many like Catwoman episodes.
Because if that's the case, this could be like a easy retcon of
Yeah.
like, oh, this is just a art change, just like the rest of them were.
Yeah.
For the later seasons of the animated series. But then again, when you look at her costume or her clothes in this series, it's very much like the Catwoman of the streets, you know, the jacket, gloves, pants Catwoman, not
Yeah.
the one suit Catwoman.
Actually, somebody, I don't know if this is real or not. I'm going to send you. I'm seeing this on Pinterest, so I don't really know if this is real, but they do have a Selena Kyle next to the Catwoman. I'm sending it to you on Discord.
Okay.
And if that's the case, she does have short hair, and it's black.
So she did get a redesign.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't officially say that.
Yeah.
But this is just what I'm going off of, according to, the internet. So I don't know, because I typed in animated series 4 Selena Kyle, and something from the show never pops up. She's always in the Catwoman suit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she actually had. But the black hair has always been the go-to. Like the blonde was the anomaly, and it was the anomaly in the show or in the movie and the show.
Yeah.
But for the most part, she's always been a brunette. Which I prefer her, the brunette. And she doesn't have long hair anymore. She used to have long hair for a while. If you're going off of the actual Selena, well, she had long hair back in the 30s, 40s, because I think women always had long hair back then. So that's, of course, why they were going to draw her. The later years, when she got the redesign and new stuff like that, and she was part of Crime Alley, or, she was part of the Narrows, and, when they kind of made her a prostitute, essentially, she cuts her hair short because she gets training from, I think they say Wildcat at the time. She gets training, and he's like, lose the fucking hair. It's the easiest way to get beat up. And so she cuts her hair short so they can't grab onto it. So that's why she has short hair. So yeah, I don't know. Good storyline to why she would have short hair. So I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, so looks like we're getting the Gotham City Sirens little reunion in this. And the Court of Owls are showing up for what I think is the first time in the adventures. Because the Court of Owls, I could see this storyline.
No. Court of Owls was in the first continued story, remember?
Oh, yeah, with the mayor. Yeah. I could see that they're the reason why Gotham is quiet, because they've kind of put everybody, they want to run Gotham their way. You know what I mean?
They killed everybody. Oh, fuck.
They could have. But I could see that they're the reason why they told everybody to kind of chill out. But again, I mean, it's Dini, it's Dini, and I forget the other person's name that's writing on this, but they're both fucking great. Ernit? I don't know the first name. They always just do or is it Burnett?
It is
Oh yeah, I had a thing that was blocking. It's Burnett. I don't know it's Burnett and Dini, but I don't know the full name.
Alan Burnett.
Okay, Alan Burnett, yeah. Great stuff. I love the animated series. Probably one of the most consistent Batman series that are out right now.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool. Now moving on to Brave and the Bold, number 2. Everybody knows this podcast was started because of Tom King, him killing Alfred, breaking his neck, and us thinking that was the craziest fucking shit we've read in a comic book in a long time. I always say that we will cover all of Tom King's stories on this thing, just as an honor for that. This is the first time that I am not liking a Tom King book. Now, some people might be like, oh, you're not too hot about
Danger Street.
Danger Street. Danger Street is just a lot of characters I don't know. And
And there's a
lot going on. Yes. I think Danger Street will be a better read, a sit down, read all of it. And normally, I don't really care about that with Tom King. I enjoy every book when it comes out. That's the first time I feel like I probably need all 12 issues to read sitting down, because there's just too much going on. But I have been captivated by the story because I'm like, who's going to die? Because I know somebody's going to die. I know something crazy is going to happen. And that's what I'm intrigued with. Giving Tom King only 4 issues to write this story that he says is the first battle between Batman and Joker, I think was a bad move.
Yeah.
Because I have said this too. I was worried about this right away because I have a story for their first meeting. And I'm just all like, oh no, Tom King's going to write this fucking epic story. And now I'm going to have to follow that. Granted, I did write something that I would be able to, avoid that too. But I am just not captivated by this, Clay.
I do not like this story at all.
Okay. To say one positive thing, I actually liked and laughed at some of the jokes in this book. I thought some of the jokes were good.
Some of the jokes were funny. Some of the jokes were clearly dad jokes.
Yeah. I love the cannibal joke.
Which I can appreciate. Yeah. Some of them were really, really good.
Yeah.
But the idea of what Tom King makes Bruce Wayne and Batman do in order to quote unquote capture the Joker is not Batman in my eyes.
I can see that argument. I hated Bruce Wayne's dialogue. And this is what I was talking about. Remember when I was saying they made somebody sound like a millennial or like a Gen Zer?
Yes.
It was Bruce Wayne.
And the idea is, so for context, everybody, Gordon finally witnesses the madness that is the Joker.
Yeah.
Firsthand, because he almost gets killed by him. But Joker lets him live. And then he tells Batman, like, oh, I finally understand this man is not going to be captured by one of us.
Yeah.
He needs to be captured by somebody like him. And even Gordon's dialogue, he's like, oh, he needs to be captured by somebody who is also broken.
Yeah.
But like Batman had already left at that point. Like, didn't like that dialogue either.
Okay.
But the idea is Bruce Wayne is like, oh, I know this dude that will feel superior in this idea of like, oh, he can't be touched by the Joker.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call him, make up this scenario, and he's going to be so intrigued by that idea, he's going to want to do it himself, right? Like, that's the whole thing. And he calls this dude up, and he's like, yo, dude, like,
it's a horrible dialogue.
Like, you know how, like, there's that Joker dude? Like, I just think, like, it would be so freaking cool, man, if, like, I called him up, or even if, like, I could put something down in the streets. I don't even know how you do that, but, like, get some word out that, like, I can't be touched by the Joker. And that entire 3 pages was so hard to read.
Yeah. I want to say, and I think this is how people that were going to defend Tom King, that are like diehards that he can't do anything wrong, which a lot of people will say I am. I do think that they're probably going to be like, oh, that's just Bruce, aka Batman, trying to talk like he thinks that person would relate to, which I can understand. And like Batman is he's a master of disguise, but I just don't think it's necessary for Bruce Wayne. Because Bruce Wayne is a very, like, I hate when we always use the word stoic, but Bruce Wayne, I like to say, is a gentleman. A lot of people like to say he's a party boy and crazy, but you can be a gentleman and still get all the bitches.
Bruce Wayne is a rich, spoiled, educated individual. Like, he is the stereotypical, like, rich boy before the 2020s, like, douchebag rich boy was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, so this idea that, because let's face it, this is supposed to be the first interaction with Batman and Joker, so I can't necessarily say that Batman is in his late 30s. He's
Yeah.
in his early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
That's still not how Batman, or that still isn't how Bruce Wayne would speak.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
this is still a Bruce Wayne that is very much invested in his persona of Bruce Wayne, building his reputation
Mm-hmm.
to be this idea of who he is as Bruce Wayne, so that way Batman go out and do and stuff. Like
Yeah.
he's not gonna like spoil or he's not gonna tarnish that reputation that Bruce Wayne has.
Yeah.
Um so to have this kind of dialogue that he has in here,
Mm-hmm.
horrible.
Yeah. I will say I disagree slightly, not entirely, that Batman wouldn't do something like this to catch somebody.
But it puts somebody else in danger. That's the thing that I'm not 100% down with when it comes to Batman.
I agree with that perspective, but I think Bruce is confident enough to know that that person is never in danger. You know what I mean? Because he is, as much as like Batman is OP, he's got confidence through the ass.
True, and I do have to remember this is the first interaction with Joker and Batman.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know
How
Joker.
crazy he is. Yeah, because at this point, it's not like he's had experience to where he knows to like never underestimate him, you know? Because flat out, like his dialogue's like, you're going down. Like, I'm gonna beat your ass. Like, you know, it's basically what he's saying.
Yeah. Again, like this idea that people like the iconic quote of Batman is like from a guest again, Frank Miller,
Yeah.
is criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that is a very famous quote from Frank Miller. King uses it in here. He's
Yeah.
like, "I'm not afraid of you," and like even that dialogue didn't feel great with Batman.
Yeah, no. No, I agree. And this honestly, and like what ends up going on with the rest of this is Batman does set up this guy, Joker. And another thing is I want to say about this before I continue the story. I think I mean, I've always kind of been on this boat, but I've understood both sides. But I think I am starting to lean towards the idea that we need to stop making Joker the homicidal maniac and go back to the jokey murderer. Because I think the scary Joker is been overdone.
Yeah,
King is starting to play in that sandbox, which I feel like he had a really good Joker in Batcat. That was a jokey Joker that was also dangerous. You know what I mean?
yeah.
This one, granted, it's the early years, but it seems like he's coming out balls to the wall and like doing not much joking. I feel like he would be a lot jokier at the start. You know what I mean? Granted, they try to show you that with him juggling eyes and stuff, but if I think this is the first going of Batman or the going of Joker, I'm thinking like poison smiley fish, laughing gas, like all that kind of stuff. Granted, they do the smiling gas here. But I think you're getting a more like silly Joker. You know what I mean? And because I think that makes him more dangerous because you think he's a goofball. You think he's Condiment King. And then
Yeah.
he's like, oh no, oh, you think I'm funny? Go tell that to the whole stadium of people I just killed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like then you're just like, oh, what the fuck? Like I thought you were like Condiment King. But no, it looks like King is going with the hardcore, you know, homicidal maniac Joker. And Batman is just trying to like, you know, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Batman's dialogue. I still kind of enjoyed the black panels talking Joker a little bit. I liked it less in this book than I did the previous one, although it was using it for jokes.
Yeah.
And I think this is a smarter way to do dialogue instead of having a whole conversation during a fight. You know what I mean? And so like we see that's kind of what happens. He's telling these jokes that are not necessarily part of the story that's happening. It's just stuff Joker would say, or maybe we assume he's saying this in between the panels.
Yeah.
And Joker jumps out of a window, which is pretty crazy. Batman's like, you're not going to survive that. Like, what the fuck are you going to do? Joker does it anyways. Batman jumps out after him, lands like on a thud. And this kind of hurts him a little bit. He's like, oh shit, I had to do that. Joker kills a guy, flat out, takes his car. Batman grapple hooks onto it, which I think was kind of cool. You know, he's basically doing what we saw in The Flash. He's holding onto a car, you know, going down the street. Joker hits the brakes. Batman slams into the back of the car, which I thought was funny. And then this kind of like Joker has the upper hand here, and he's like beating the shit out of Batman, and he's like kicking him in the face. Batman's just like, oh shit, maybe this guy's not, you know.
Well, Batman keeps saying, "You're a freak. You're a coward."
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of weird at this point. Like, I think that is kind of lame. I think he's just trying to like, I can understand if you're coming from a perspective of you're supposed to show that you're not scared of them at all. Like, I can understand that, I guess, and that's maybe why you'll say this stuff. I think you show that toughness by just getting up again and again and again. You know, you don't need to say you're pathetic, you're a loser. Because I think we've known throughout history, everybody's seen a fight in real life. Well, I think a majority of people have seen fights in real life. And usually the guy that gets knocked out or beat to the ground and they get up, they're like, well, you're still a bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they always try to say insults after they got their ass kicked. And it's like, bro, you shouldn't be talking anymore. And that's kind of how Batman comes off instead of just being a badass, you know? And so Joker is beating his ass. That's when we're getting all these jokes. I want to say again, I don't know where my favorite joke was. It was the cannibal one, which I thought was so funny. Let's see. Where's it at? But okay. What did the cannibal do after he dumped his girlfriend? He wiped his ass. Like, I was like, oh shit, that's fucked up. There was another one too. That was my girlfriend's dog died and she took it really hard. So I tried to make her feel better by buying her an identical dog. But it just made her more upset. She shouted at me, why would I want 2 dead dogs? And I was just like, God damn. So I will say I did like the jokes that they did in this. But overall, I think the story ends with Batman getting thrown off a bridge. And it's to be continued. So Joker throws him off a bridge. And very iconic Batman Joker thing. They're always falling in water, it seems like, so they can come back and be better. But you know, the first book I thought was okay. The second book, I think it's not necessarily what happened in the book that I'm bored with. It's the dialogue was the worst part. I think the dialogue was the worst part. But when and I think this is a reason why maybe it's probably best not to say you're doing stuff. I've always had this problem with like Zdarsky being like, this is going to be, you know, my fucking Dark Knight or whatever the hell he said. He like really, like, I remember him saying something crazy about his run in Batman. Like, I forgot
said, the Doomsday, first thing was like, I'm going to bring Batman's Doomsday to life.
Yeah.
Like, was his big thing.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay. But yeah, so when it comes to Tom King saying this is the first time Batman and Joker meet, that's a lot to live up to, Tom King. Like, first of all, because you are saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do that one thing nobody's done. And if you are going to do the one thing nobody's done, there's a reason why a lot of people haven't done that first thing. You know what I mean? It's either because DC is like, no, but if you build up the confidence or you build up the rapport with DC where they're going to allow you to do that, then it's kind of like, And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Tynan try to do their first meeting too? And it was like really shitty.
I can't remember.
I think it had something. Honest. Yeah, it was like really wordy towards the end or some shit like that. I think Bruce recalled to his first time meeting Joker or some shit like that, and it was like this wordy bullshit. Like you didn't really see anything. It happened to do like at a water plant or some shit. But then again, I mean, we could say, you know, Scott Snyder did the first meeting between them, right? I don't care. But anyways, when you're going out and saying it and you're trying to write a story, because all of those have been kind of like just flashes in the pan, right? They're not really, they're like a page or two. He's writing the first story. So like, if you're going to do that, it needs to be huge. Like their first meeting should solidify Joker on why he's his main villain, why he's so crazy, and why Batman like thinks like, oh, this guy is going to be trouble. You know what I mean? And I don't think I'm getting that right now. And I'm just really shocked from King with this particular thing, because he's really good at writing these like long form mystery things, but maybe because it's only 4 issues, he's having to speed it up. We saw a 16 panel page or 12 panel page or whatever the hell it was. Like, that's crazy. I was like, bro. And like, I don't know, man. Really disappointed with it so far, which is unfortunate. But you know, I mean, I'm kind of happy a little bit because I have my own story of this. Like, so I'm like, maybe mine will be better. But yeah, I just think that for this story on what it's supposed to be, I'm not liking it.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't believe the dialogue. The Bruce Wayne dialogue was horrible.
Yeah, I didn't even like the Bruce Wayne dialogue. There's a moment in the Batcave when Alfred and Bruce, like Bruce is off the phone. He's no longer talking to that guy.
Yeah.
But like they are interacting with each other, but it sounds like they're both disregarding that the other one exists. Like Bruce is talking to himself and Alfred is talking to himself, but they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
But it's so very weird. Like they're no one's acknowledging each other, so it doesn't sound like an actual conversation. So it's just weird. I didn't like the dialogue in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I don't know, man. I'm just a little disappointed in it. Because I was expecting Brave and the Bold to be like really awesome, you know. But we'll see. I mean, maybe it's just the short stories. Because again, I enjoyed his Wonder Woman thing that he just did recently. That was cool. We talked about it last week. I'm assuming Wonder Woman's going to be pretty awesome. Maybe Tom King can't have a mini series. He needs to just have maxi series.
Yeah.
But then again, I think Supergirl was what, 8 issues, something like that. That did really well. Granted, I haven't read it yet, but I know that everybody's ranting and raving about it nowadays. But I enjoyed Killing Time. That was 6 issues. So maybe he needs 6 issues minimum. Because that Batman was fine in my opinion.
Well, you also have to remember this is 4 issues, but it's not the entire comic.
Yeah.
Like I think he only has like 18 pages. Instead of the regular 24.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I will say I was just kind of like, after I read it, I was like, damn. It just left a lot to be desired, which kind of sucked. And I think that's not what you want from a comic. Yeah. Maybe the next 2 are going to be really awesome. We don't know. Because they have delayed it. They delayed it to issue 4 is not going to have a Tom King story. It'll come out in issue 5. So for some reason they delayed it, and it just really sucks when you hear them talk about it so passionately, and then you're just like, oh, I don't like it. Because like Mitch is all like, yeah, this is a story you've been wanting to tell for a long time. I'm like, really? This story? But there you go. For all the people that, he doesn't talk shit about Tom King. There you go. There's your fucking episode of that. But that is all we have for this week, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're about to be going into the season of nightmares pretty soon. Yeah. So all the next books, I think, is it next week that it starts?
I think it's next week.
Yeah. So I think we need to read the first actual nightmare book that's supposed to lead into everything. And then I think there is a Batman nightmare book.
There is.
And then there's so many books, ladies and gentlemen. We're only going to cover the Batman ones. If the series is good, if the series sucks after the first 2 weeks, I think we probably just let it go, kind of like Metal. Yeah. But just letting you know that that's pretty much all the comics for the next 2 months, it feels like. And then I think DC is taking a break from the Zdarsky run. So we'll see how it goes. But I think we'll still have, World's Finest and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. But that is going to be it for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
So tonight, the same time that I am recording this with you, I'm going to be recording a book review for Star Wars, and the embargo is for that book on next Wednesday, so it will be released then if anybody wants to listen to it with no regard of spoilers, of course. But the book I think releases mid-July. If you guys want to wait and read it and then listen to it, it'll always be on the Star Wars Alliance podcast feeds, so go check that out. Other than that, Star Wars Alliance has been preparing for the Ahsoka series, so we've been reviewing Rebels. We've already reviewed season 1. We're going to be reviewing season 2 in 2 weeks, so just keep an eye out for that. But yeah, check that out.
Yeah. New Star Wars game announced or something, right? I saw like with different characters or some shit. I don't know. It could be.
Yes. So it was Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that going to be about? Like, what's the story?
It's a story between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. You are a like thief smuggler girl, and it looks pretty cool. You have like this weird like alien dog companion thing that like allows you to like you get to use them for like figuring out different puzzles and whatnot. It has really cool space travel. Like you from the planet you lift off and then you actually go through the atmosphere into space, which
Okay.
has not been something that has been very popular because a lot of developers are like, hey, that's a really hard thing to do, like having to generate like
No Man's Sky did it.
yeah,
Well, they tried at the start, and it was
they tried. Yeah, it was horrible, but
yeah,
they eventually got it down. There's
yeah.
not a whole lot of games that do it. So for this to have it, I think that's very, very fun. But yeah, looking forward to that game for sure. I don't think it releases until like 2025 at the late or at the earliest, I think, but early 2026.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played a Star Wars game in forever. I've been playing Battlefront lately though. For some reason, I don't know why. I've just been playing it. It's fun. I think I wanted to get away from like Fall Guys and stuff, and I just wanted to play something interesting. And Battlefront, I used to play. I used to be fucking badass at the first one. Well, the first new one, because if I'm not mistaken, Battlefront was a game back on like PS2 or some shit, right? Like a long time ago.
It was on the PSP.
Okay, yeah. So the original non-good graphics versions, I never played those, but then they came out with I call it Battlefront 1, which came out on I think PS4. And I was a badass at that game. I would get Luke on Hoth, 70 kills a game. Like it was insane. I was a badass. And then they came out with this new one, and it's like I think a little bit more technical when it comes to using the Jedis and stuff. So I haven't got it down because like if people might not remember it, but that game got a lot of shit when it first came out because like you could buy better characters. So everybody's like, oh, it's play to win. And so everybody was like extremely pissed about that game. So it kind of died off and it didn't really get a huge popularity. But anyways, that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you watching this podcast again. Sorry for all the late podcasts recently, but life happens and we got to delay the podcast. But that's going to be it. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.